Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order the January 20th, 2026 Board of Commissioners Reorganization Meeting. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We had agendas, I believe, on the table outside, and it's a reorganization meeting. I want to say to our board, I want to thank you all for letting me serve the last few years as your president. It's been an honor and a pleasure working with every single one of you. And also I want to welcome again Mr. McDade to our board. And I look forward to working with all of you again, because I was elected for another 4 years. And I hope we do great things together, working collaboratively. So I'll ask the public, does anyone have any public comment, or would they like to address the board with regard to any of our agenda items this evening that are listed? Anyone in the room? Anyone on Zoom? Before we start our meeting? See any? Okay, hearing none. We'll start with our first item on the agenda, which is nomination and election of President of the Board of Commissioners. I will be honored to nominate Dennis Mueller for President of the Board of Commissioners. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion's been, like to make a motion to nominate Dennis. So the motion's been moved and seconded to nominate Dennis Mueller for President of the Board of Commissioners. Is there a full discussion? Anyone else?
I think we need a bigger discussion.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I think it's important that we don't fall into the same trap that we fell into last week, where we really just started off a disagreement.
Well,
We left ourselves with really no time to talk or discuss and have the public discussion that we're really obligated to have. So, I think it's important for us to talk about this, right, before we start throwing motions out there. I think that, I'll start by sharing not a motion, but just my intention, right, where I'm at right now, where I think this board is going and who I think will lead it most effectively. And I'll share that I intend to support Commissioner Boothhausen as president, and I intend to support Commissioner Dennis Mueller as vice president. And I'll tell you exactly why. I think as far as Ruth is concerned, she's been on this board for 6 years. She's been a long advocate for improving Lower Moreland, while carefully watching all the financial implications of those investments. And I think just a couple of things that she's championed in her time here. Number one, she's played an instrumental role in transforming Harb. She's helped drive important work to beautify, to restore Lower Moreland, continues to do so. In her time as chair of the Public Property Committee, she's oversaw major construction with the Chapel Hill Sewer Processing Plant. She's been involved with sewer relining projects, just to name a few. And most recently, she helped us secure a small but important parcel of land to help develop a small park to improve the Pennypack Trail and bring that protected land into the township as a whole. In my opinion, she comes the most prepared to our annual budget meetings and our monthly commissioner meetings. She has questions. She's thought critically about the cost implications, both current and future. And I find that she's the best understanding the impact of any of the business has in our township. And she's thinking about that before meetings, and she's thinking about that during meetings. She's always even keeled and calm during those longer, more complex discussions. Sometimes they get heated, but I've never really seen Ruth get heated herself. And I think it's important. I think it's an important leadership quality. I always appreciated and admired her willingness to raise uncomfortable positions on topics. It's important. It's the right thing to do. And she's done that even if it's made her unpopular. And I think that is an important quality for leadership as well. As I said, she's a critical thinker. She works hard to forge relationships. She's built them on trust, on mutual respect. She's worked with key stakeholders on her liaison positions, her committee positions, with staff and employees of the township. And I really, truly believe she'll bring the leadership that we need now. She's unbiased by personal entanglements. She's unhindered by any sense that she needs to please everyone. And honestly, with Dennis as vice president, well, Dennis has only been on the board for 2 years, and that's the same length of time that I've been on this board, right? There's a lot we've learned, and I've admired a lot of his candor, his honesty, his critical thinking and his ability to see the bigger picture. We've talked a lot about that over these last 2 years. I think he leads the planning committee well. He works hard to guide those conversations. He provides really good feedback. And I think that he helps developers understand what we need and he helps forge a vision for this township that I personally agree with and I believe in. I think he's demonstrated his willingness as well to question decisions and processes that don't seem effective. And even though his tenure has been short, I kind of think that's an asset at this time, especially in a position where, as we approach major milestones, like the ongoing efforts to improve our emergency response services, we want that fresh perspective. So having someone who's not so embroiled in his history, I think brings that perspective. And I think the two of these two together would really be the best for this board to lead us over these next 2 years. So I'd really like to understand how other people feel about that and, share your perspective because I think it's important that we have that discussion.
Your comments are noted. Mr. McDade, would you like to?
And I will second Sean's motion to have Ruth Housen as our president of the Board of Commissioners. I've known Ruth for a long time. We've had our differences on many different opinions, but we always come to an agreement at the end. And that's what the quality of Ruth has, where she'll be able to talk to you and she'll listen and talk, and then we come out. Sometimes we agree to disagree, but most of the times we do come to an agreement to where I understand where she's going with things. I disagreed with some of the things when I sat in the audience there for 12 years with what Ruth did, but she always made sense at the end. And that's what I respected in Ruth. And I do believe that this township would go forward. And she'll guide us on a path to where everybody in this township would understand what we do as commissioners here in this township. And I would second Sean's motion for Ruth to be president of this board.
Okay, your comments are noted. Solicitor Rice, you taking the roll call for me.
Well, we saw a discussion right now. Well, let's, there's one nomination so far. And what I heard was Sean, you're nominating Ruth.
Well, say, there was already a nomination for Dennis on the floor,
Right.
and it was second, so we gotta address that, but there's comment right now, and everybody should have the opportunity
Yeah.
to speak,
Yes.
so let's
Dennis's
continue with the
nomination
comment.
is, so if everybody's done
We have one
commenting
nomination
on
of
that,
comment.
then
No, I still have comments, and I'm sure there's comments coming down
Okay.
the line also, so,
Okay.
go ahead, guys, if you guys wanna start it off, I'll jump in.
No, you could.
No, go.
All
you
right,
could go.
more than happy to jump in. I apologize to everybody out there. I took a fall last night, hit my head pretty good and a little bit of a concussion, so I was a little bit late on getting here. With that being said, I believe that Dennis and Ruth are both good candidates. I've known them both personally for a number of years. Right now, I am leaning towards Dennis, as my nomination indicates, due to his values and what he's brought to the table with the planning commission and so on with the development roles. Ruth has done an outstanding job as well. She's been excellent during all the review meetings and everything else that she's participated in, and also the acquisition of the new park, as Sean just addressed. With that being said, that's why I'm leaning towards Dennis at this time and Ruth as VP.
Why wouldn't you support Ruth as president, given that it's the same pair?
To be honest with you, it has to do with some of the past meetings with her agenda items and so on. I believe Dennis is a little bit more concise than Ruth, and that's why I'm going that way.
You think that she talks too long about the things that she's.
Not too long, just at times I don't follow the same track, but that's what I believe.
Do you ask questions and try to seek clarity?
I do, I absolutely do, and again, I apologize, Sean, I have a splitting headache right now.
I understand.
With that being said, I just believe that he's a little bit more guided and a little bit more precise, and that's what I'm looking for the president. But I believe she does an outstanding job and will make a phenomenal VP.
So guided and precise in just leading the meetings.
I believe Dennis is more guided and precise for leading the meetings.
Won't talk as
Yes,
long, won't ramble.
Well, I'm not saying she rambles. Don't put words in my
All right,
mouth.
I'm just trying to understand.
I believe he is just a little bit more focused at the points at hand, especially with the development that we have coming up in the township in the near future.
In terms of his role in the planning committee.
Yes,
Okay. And that would make him a more suitable president than Ruth.
in my opinion, just as your opinion is, Ruth would make her more suitable due to her functions.
I'm just trying to understand where
Yep.
it's at.
my opinion is that I feel that Dennis has excellent communication skills to deal with our current personalities on the board at this time and the public. He has wonderful communication skills. And he's very articulate in the way he handles the public and in all situations. Not that you don't, Ruth, but you and I are super kind. We were told that many times. And that sometimes kindness can be shown as a weakness. And Dennis has that, but he also knows how to deal with it eloquently and diplomatically at the same time. And I feel those skills are needed in 2026. So that's why I feel that level of skill set is important as a president. And Dennis has taught me a little bit in the short time, just in the last month, and has helped me tremendously. And I appreciate that. And I think you both make an excellent team.
And you don't feel I've been helpful.
I absolutely do. And I think we make an excellent team, and I'm glad to work with every single one of you in every single way.
Would you like to go first or do you?
Go ahead.
Okay. I also like Dennis a lot, and I think a lot of his capabilities and what he stands for. We agree on almost everything. I just think that 6 years of experience is essential for this role. 2 years of experience is great. I would continue to have him be with the planning commission. As president, you're typically not in charge of the planning commission, which would mean we'd have to change that. And that is starting us over with some projects that we have currently on board. And again, I have nothing against you. I just think that I can do the role. I've worked hard. I've stood up before you. I've worked for transparency. I've worked very hard to keep costs down. I also seem to be kind, but I don't view kindness as a weakness. I do try to be kind anyway, but I don't view kindness as a weakness. In fact, I view it as a strength. I still think that I would be able to call people on the carpet if need be. Unfortunately, Solicitor Rice may agree with me on that.
You called me on the carpet many times.
I may have, I don't know. No, I have, and I will, sorry. With, when it's necessary, so I don't believe I'm too soft to be president of the Board of Commissioners, nor do I believe that, I may have a lack of eloquence at times, but preparing for these meetings will make that a no.
Yeah, thank you, and really thank you all. I'm really honored to even be considered for this, and it wasn't something that I was necessarily pursuing or even thinking about until I spoke with most of you individually, and you had expressed the interest in me. So, thank you, and the comments are very well taken. I'm not going to necessarily advocate for myself. I think you know me well enough, you know my style, you know what my beliefs are. Not only for the township, but also for this board. I think the board now is in a unique position on the diversity that we have in front of us. I do think that I can bring together some of the more thorny issues that we've talked about. I think I have a good working relationship with all of you. So, I'm honored to be considered, and really, for Ruth and I, this is really in your hands as well. So I'll let that stand on its own. Thank you.
Just for the board's information, planning commission is the most difficult agenda to handle. one, the most of the full committee to him. So, and you have a wonderful job with that, Commissioner Wheeler.
Thank you.
I mean, it sounds like there is some consensus. We both look at Ruth, we both look at Dennis, we see them as good leadership material. We see them as the group of people who's gonna help us get through this next stage. And I think at this stage, we really have to think critically about what's best for the township. What do we need at this moment and what's gonna help us get through these different moments? And we're hearing from on Dennis's side, eloquent speaker, smart, critical thinker, right, leads his agenda items well. All true things and all things that will come to shine in a vice president position. What Ruth has over Dennis at this moment, at this time when we need it, is experience. And Dennis, honestly, sitting in a vice president sets him up really well. Should he run again? Should he win again? Should he continue to be on this board? I'll say it now, like I'd probably support him for a presidency to that right side. When he's gotten some experience, when he's had a chance to work that much deeper inside the administration with all the different people at the township, and really sees that side of it, where he gets glimpses of it, but not the same as Ruth has over the last 6 years, and not at the depth that she has. And so for that reason alone, I think they will both be super effective. Ruth in that presidency puts that experience forward and helps us get this firehouse built, right? It helps us navigate the current issues we're having with the trash collection and getting that up and running and helping the residents get on board with that, right? And all the other things that we have in front of us to vote on, to think about today and in future meetings. And above it all, we have to decide, because if we don't decide and we get stuck here, it's going to be a long night, and it's going to be a long tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And we have important agenda items we can talk about tonight too. And that's what's best for the township, is to figure this out and recognize that there is potential there to move forward, and good potential to move forward there. And not to get stuck up on just, where we're at right now, which is 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and an unwillingness to move.
Commissioners, I just want to tell you that each and every one of you, we're all unique and different in our own way, and each and every one of you have a different perspective to bring to the table. And it makes us rich, and it makes us wonderful, and that we have to bring all our gifts and talents to the table and work together.
Agreed.
And collaborate. And it is all about the residents in the community. And they voted us in to work for them. So let's start doing that. Let's start doing that. It's not about that P word. It's about the people, not the other P word. So let's start putting it all aside and think about the people.
I think I have a history considering our population, and of transparency is something that I've worked very hard on over the years. You get a lot more information now than you did before I started, especially financial. And much of that is due to changes that I caused to be implemented. And I am not terribly comfortable singing my own praises, nor am I comfortable with the thought of being president, but I do think that I have the best experience, the best background, and the best agenda for moving forward. I work very well with everyone. Most of you I consider friends, and I hope you continue to be so.
I honor each and every one of you for wanting to be a public servant in our community. So we've taken public comment.
No, there's still public comment.
No, there's no.
Well, we took public comment in the beginning of the room.
Gotcha.
At the
All right, so
beginning.
no public comment.
So we're not taking public comment at this time. I'm so sorry. But we've had public comment on the board, and
Discussion, you have one nomination so
I
far.
have one nomination so far.
You need to vote on
So we're gonna vote on the nomination for Commissioner Mueller at this time. So Solicitor Rice, can you take the roll call?
it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll just,
EJ, our assistant manager, is on Zoom.
well, I mean, I can do it.
EJ, are you okay with Solicitor Rice taking the roll call vote? Or would you like to do that on Zoom?
We can do the
I
vote
think
right
you
here.
do
in
need-
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, we got it right here.
keep it here.
Okay, let's keep it here.
So the nomination for president was for Commissioner Mueller.
let me take that. The nomination for president is for Commissioner Mueller. I'll make a motion to nominate Commissioner Mueller for president.
Motion was made, I seconded it, so now we can take.
It's been moved and seconded.
Yeah, seconded, comment.
Roll call vote.
Motion's been moved and seconded to nominate Commissioner Mueller for president, of Moreland Township Board of Commissioners.
Aye.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And I'll take the roll call. You want me to take the roll
Okay,
call vote?
roll call.
Commissioner McDade,
No.
Commissioner Blanton,
Nay.
Canali,
Yay.
Yay.
you have,
Nay.
Yes.
okay. It's 3-3. Which, as you all know, means that Denise stays in the board of presidents.
That is not true, and that is not what we all know. You
Well-
tried that last week and that doesn't work. That's not how the code is written. We also have more discussion and we have more motions we can make. It doesn't end after one vote. It doesn't end after one vote.
I agree with you.
I agree.
We can definitely take
So-
more votes on this right now. With that being said, does anybody? Go ahead, Denise, run this.
There's more nominations.
We have a nomination.
You're right.
Right.
But if you come to an impasse, that's what the code says.
We have a
That is not what the code
That's
says.
John's
It's
interpretation.
his interpretation,
I agree.
Correct.
and it is not,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion.
We have another nomination.
go ahead.
Go ahead, we have a nomination.
Well, he's new to motion.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ruth Housen as president of this board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to nominate Ruth Housen as president of the Lower Moreland Township Board of Commissioners. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 You opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Hey,
Nay.
it's a 3-3 dozen votes.
Well, let me just call it again. Commissioner McDade,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanton,
Yay.
Commissioner Canali,
Nay.
Mr.
No.
Kurtz. Mr.
No.
Housen.
Nay.
Okay, so Solicitor, you
Are
provided us
there
with,
any more nominations?
are there any other nominations for president?
I'd really like to understand
Wait,
why
wait a
it's
second.
so difficult to understand, to have Ruth sit in this presidency. Because there's been no argument as to why she'd be incapable of being in that spot. And we've talked about kind and capable and true things about Dennis and talked about kind and capable and true things about Ruth. And the only thing that separates them is experience. And we're gonna ask someone who's been on this board for 2 years
Anyone, just let
to
us.
sit over top of someone who's been here for 6, who hasn't been as involved, who hasn't gotten as much done because he just hasn't been here. This is not a knock on Dennis at all. I think he's a very capable person. I've said that many times. I will continue to say that.
So,
But right now, we're staring down the barrel of no decision. Why? And you guys won't say why. You just won't say why.
can I respond to you for a minute?
Please do.
So last week, we all had a conversation offline with the different parties as we're allowed to. We had an agreement that we thought was going through. Where you guys all agreed, meaning Chuck, yourself, and Ruth, that you were gonna support Dennis as president. Is that true or untrue offline?
Are you asking if we met offline as a large group and just?
No, I'm not saying a large group, not all 4 of us. We individually talked and that seemed what the consensus was,
Okay.
and Ruth was gonna be VP.
And there
That's
were,
what we talked about.
okay, there were, if you wanna bring up private conversations and stuff like that, there were multiple private conversations happening between multiple people.
Uh-huh.
Multiple deals were brought up. Some of them brought up very soon before our meeting came up. So was there consensus walking into our meeting last Friday? No, there was not consensus.
Up to about an hour before the was.
Right, so if you're talking about,
Not with me, it wasn't.
if you're talking about a discussion we had to bring these decisions together, yes, we thought about that as an initial group. But there was a discussion of between Ruth and Denise about the two of them sitting in those seats. And there seemed to be consensus there too. All the things that happened before this meeting don't matter. Because this meeting is what matters and this discussion matters. We don't decide things without the public, without having the discussion in the public. That's not right. We can talk to each other, but that is not where we make deals. And if you think that's where we make deals, that is not true.
No, I'm not saying that's where we make deals, but we do discuss offline on numerous matters.
Sure.
One-on-one.
So we discuss,
Wait.
and we discuss, it is. And then we came to this meeting. We had 2 votes. We had a nay, and we sat in silence for 30 seconds. And then there was an attempt to say, well, this process doesn't matter. We're going to continue on with Denise as president and move on, which we stood up. We said, no, That's not how the code is written. We discussed it in executive session, and when we came back, we made a commitment to the township to get to consensus. So everything we talked about before led to that point, and everything we've been trying to talk about afterwards has led us to this point. And that's why I'm trying to talk about it right now.
So we've been trying to get to consensus the whole time. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We've
Yeah.
had conversations here. We've had motions here, which have both failed so far, correct?
Yes, I see that.
If there's more motions, people can make them for other nominees. Are we both in agreement upon that?
I mean, I suppose, yes, we could make motions to the
Absolutely.
council meeting.
The difference that we have right now is, if those motions fail, it is my belief in the solicitor's opinion that
It's
the
a legal
current,
opinion.
just let me finish. The current president and VP would remain until a new duly elected president and vice president are elected. You seem to differ from what the solicitor is telling us. But with him being our legal professional, that's who I need to default to right now. So if we have other motions, I'm happy to make them, or if anybody wants to bring anybody else up. If not, right now, we're at 3-3.
I have to tell you that just because we have 2 votes, we can do the same nominations again and hope for a different outcome. I just think we should continue to discuss.
And I agree, and that's why I'm trying to ask these questions. I'm trying to understand why it is that you just cannot seem to get over the hump that Ruth, with more experience than Dennis, we both agree that they should be the group. They should be the group. Everyone has said that.
Mm.
Nobody's even trying to propose a different configuration. And so in this moment, with the only thing separating them is experience, proven track record of things getting done. And we have 2 years where we have to get shit done. We have a firehouse that we have to build. We have 2 fire companies that need to come together and are having a hard time doing that. We need to be there for them. And there is something that Ruth has done time and time again in 6 years, which is bringing people together. And I see Dennis doing that too, but not for the length of time and the depth that Ruth has done it.
So,
And for you guys to not recognize that and understand that there's value in that, I'm having a really hard time understanding why.
well, if we're going with that philosophy, then why don't we keep Denise? She's been here 24 years, has been a proven leader, is the current president, and I can stand up and nominate her right now.
Okay, she has been. She has been a leadership position. She has been in the sport for a long time. That history and that connection is not getting us where we need to get right now. It just isn't. And it's the same thing with you.
Why?
Why? You've seen why. Have you been to these meetings over the last 2 years? Seen the heavy discussions that have been happening? Have seen the problems that, in particular with fire companies, are having getting through here, right? We have situations where they can't come to consensus and they're having a hard time coming together. And when we come and have meetings with them and we sit there and we have moments where things are promised, where things are shed to them that we're going to do that. And then the opposite happens, right? That's happening on this watch in the last 2 years since I've been on this board. That is why Ruth and Dennis need to be part of this.
So-
They are separate from that.
They are almost there, and I can't believe they're almost there. That does not fall on me, Sean.
I understand
They're
there's a fault.
almost there,
You're right, they're almost there. We're at a critical juncture.
and they're almost there. And together with Joe and I, and with all Joe's public safety background, we're almost there.
What do you
We
mean by
have
almost
gotten
there?
more.
Because that's what
We have
happens.
worked so hard
Let me
together.
hop in for
I
1 second.
understand, and I'm not taking away your contributions. I'm talking about what we need right now
So
in
right
the
now,
leadership position.
You know
we're
what, Sean?
talking, hang on.
We're not going to have this conversation right now.
You are also talking about having Dennis and Ruth in this position.
I'm
So you must
taking a
agree with-
big step back.
I understand.
Because of different things that I've heard, and I don't want to go there because of a lot.
Let me hop in for
And
1 second.
and because I'm trying to be a team player with all of you.
And that is what
That's-
we're trying to do.
I'm trying to be a team player
Okay.
with all of you because I like peace and I want community peace. I'm trying to be a team player.
Then why can't you support Ruth?
So hold on.
You've worked with her for so long.
I just want to address something you said real quick, Sean.
I have the most experience. I would love to keep moving things forward, and that's what I want to do. But you guys
So-
don't want to,
Lisa, are you nominating yourself? You
okay?
can do that. Are you gonna nominate yourself?
Ruth? Ruth,
No, because that's what, it sounds like you're lobbying for yourself as president. I don't know, I mean that as a.
I was the one who threw that out there on the experience aspect, and I did not make a nomination on this, but I was saying, she's been here 24 years, very well qualified, has done a ton for the community. And if we're going sheer off the experience,
Mhm.
that's who I would go for. That's not what I'm saying right now. Regarding the fire companies and so on, since you brought that, right now, we're down to the final phase on this. Huntington Valley Fire Company, Bernathen Fire Company, the township and the borough have all received the bylaws. That's in review, honey. The last step is for them all to sign off, saying they're coming on board. I believe 3 out of the 4 entities are good with that right now. I believe the township,
Which
With
ones are
what-
good with that?
what do I believe right now?
Yeah.
I believe Bernathen Borough is good. I believe Bernathen Fire Company is good. Huntington Valley, I'm hoping is good. In the township right now, I know we have some indecision on the board from what I've been hearing over the last 2 weeks. That's the one I have the biggest question on right now. I believe it's the right thing to have this merger occur. I believe it's the best thing for the community, and it's been called for the last 17 years on every study that's been conducted.
How many bylaw meetings have they had, Joe?
Between the township and the individual organizations,
How many bylaw
I
meetings?
believe they have had one each
One each.
with that. And they're supposed to
you
be coming
think that's
back with,
close, one each.
with the comments on what I'm hearing, yes. I was at Bernathen's annual meeting last night. They have minor revisions that they want to submit, nothing major.
Well, we
And-
haven't heard from Huntington Valley yet, have we?
We have not heard from Huntington Valley. I know they met and they said they were going to be getting back with comments,
Right,
as I'm sure everybody will. It's now in our Dropbox where we can review it. That's what I spent the weekend doing. Again, I even have comments on that and different questions on. But I believe they are minor, and I believe it is the right thing for the community and what must occur to ensure public safety on the fire side and EMS side
Joe,
going forward.
if I may, I'm actually in favor of the merger.
And so am I. No one's arguing against that.
We all,
Always.
No one's arguing about that, and that's not even what's
Some
side
slightly
discussion.
different ways of managing the population only, but I consider Lock a friend, Hannah a friend.
absolutely.
You know, the guys at Huntington Valley are definitely my friends. So I
I don't
don't,
want them to come to this decision on their own terms. We don't want to push them into this. We never did. That's why, Sean, you can't put that on me.
I'm not
We
putting,
want them
not putting anything on.
make
But
this decision on their own terms.
That being said,
Yeah,
I
you
believe
did.
that's
You
close.
Basically kind of did.
what did I do? What did I say?
Kind of said that it's kind of my fault that it isn't.
I said no such thing, and I'm sorry if you felt that way.
Sean, I think that I'm also,
You
I
did.
know you insinuated that you were indicating.
No,
that-
what I said directly is that between these two people, who we have all agreed are in this position,
You did.
that Ruth with more experience than Dennis compared to those
Okay.
two, is the only thing
It's 2
separating.
years, a lot of great things had come along.
I agree with you, I've been here.
Okay,
I voted alongside all of those. I've been a part of those discussions.
Well, I
I haven't
think
agreed with
things-
every step of the way, and I've seen the
Okay.
challenges that have gone through. I can say something has been challenging and that we've had hard times and not take anything away from you.
you know.
Right? I'm not saying I'm not saying anything terrible about you at all. Right? But it would be crazy to think that it's all been sunshine and rainbows, that we've had no hiccups, we've had no challenges.
There's never anything
Right.
that goes along smoothly.
And so for these next 2 years where we will continue to have challenges, we will continue to have hard times. We are discussing right now who we need to lead through those moments. We have all agreed, it's these two. Nobody has made any case for anybody else. It's these two. So we're trying to debate between these two. Who do we want to sit in the presidency? And I'll say it again, the only thing separating them is experience. Proven track record of getting things done and working with people in this township. That is Ruth. Dennis is an incredible opportunity to learn from that, to be involved with that, to set himself up for success in the future. And I want that for him. I want that for everybody. Because I believe in what both of these two people have been doing. I believe in all the things that we've done. And I think, just like we all do, that we need these two to do it right now. So what we have to decide is who do we want sitting in the presidency, who do we want sitting in the vice presidency. And I will say, once again, I'm hearing no. I wanna understand why Dennis is more capable and is better suited, and that the township was better off with him that president, because I have not heard that argument yet compared to Ruth. I haven't heard what separates them that makes Dennis
So I'll
better
come in.
suited right now for that position.
Absolutely, no problem. I believe Dennis is more articulate when it comes to his negotiation skills. I believe that makes him better qualified for the presidency, going through these mergers that we're talking about right now. And the future potential on the property development that we have coming up. Those are my 2 major things. I believe his experience in the corporate world will also benefit us when it comes to the negotiations. That's my personal belief, and that's why I'm selecting him as
And
president.
you can't do that in a vice presidency. You can't negotiate. In a vice presidency, he can much more in a position to continue to do his good work on the planning. And in presidency, he can't do that. He can't be involved. Because he needs to oversee internal affairs. He's got a much bigger plate. And he has a job. As you just said, he's a part of corporate America. I am too.
Those
It asks a lot
committees
of
can be
us.
assigned to whatever he wants. He could remain on planning as president and dictate IA out to somebody else as any committee assignments assignable to him.
And he can stay on there. So he can stay on that committee with Ruth, the president. So again, there's not a difference here. We want him to be part of planning committee. He can continue to do that in a vice president position. He can. There's nothing stopping him from doing that. We want him to be present in a meeting where we're talking to developers, we're talking to anybody. He can do that in vice president position. But the behind the scenes stuff, being here, being able to be involved where it's necessary, that is the experience I'm talking about with Ruth. Where she has forged those relationships. She knows the people to talk to. She's worked with them for a long time.
So regarding the solicitors meetings and everything else, Dennis has been to every one of those and has done them for the last 10 years.
Okay.
So he has the track record and the experience.
In those meetings, wonderful. I've joined
Yes.
meetings too, and that I've one that's going to that I have experience with. And I'm not saying that that puts me in a position to lead this board, having never been in a leadership position on this board. I wouldn't advocate for myself in this for the same reason.
I'm not asking you to advocate for yourself on this. What I'm looking for is seeing how we can get to the consensus. We both agree. Those are the two best candidates right now for this position. We all know, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I've been on this board for 6 years. I've been VP for the last 3. I would never have consensus from the party on your side right now to put me in one of those leadership roles. Is that correct?
What do you?
Due to my history with public safety, you guys wanted me off of public safety because you perceive it to be a conflict, correct, Joe?
It is a conflict.
You perceive it to be. It's
It-
not a conflict.
It is.
Pursuant to our solicitors,
But with
said
that
it's
being,
not a conflict.
with that being
That's his
said,
opinion.
It's
With
his
that-
legal opinion. It's
all
not
right,
a
with that being said, I know we can't get there with myself in any one of these positions. I know you guys have issues with the names. It's clear and evident. It is what it is. That leaves us with 2 options that we're talking about, and we're down to the final 2 options. What I'm asking here is to compromise. You've asked me to step down off public safety. Willing to do that as long as you guys give the support for Dennis in the president's role and for Ruth in the VP spot. I'm more than happy to nominate her right now for that position. More than happy. And we'll support it 110% of the way. It's not about partisan politics. It's about doing what's right for the community.
That's where I started, doing what's right with the community. And I don't,
No, you didn't,
I don't
Sean.
see-
You didn't, Sean, because both of us are the most responsive commissioners to every single one of the residents. We're out there, we are helpful. In every ward, people come to us, they know us the most. Okay, we're out there, county, local, everything, doing everything. Helping everyone, they know us. Now, they do know Ruth too, a little bit, but guess what? Dennis is very responsive too. And I've seen Dennis, and Dennis is one of the commissioners that can hit the ground running on every agenda item, and I've seen him at our solicitor meeting. He does, he's hit the ground running. He knows every single point and every single agenda item. It's, to me, it's pretty amazing.
and Ruth doesn't, or do you think Ruth
Well-
does that?
You know what? I talked to Ruth about different things if I was president, because I know this is my last term. Because to be honest with you, this was the worst election I ever ran. Thank you very much. And I did share with Ruth that I wanted to have everybody, teach everybody everything that I've learned over the last 23 years. Because I believe that good leaders teach everyone the skills that they've learned. That's what good leaders do. You have to teach everybody everything. You leave everybody with your legacy, everything that you've learned. And like I said to you, Dennis taught me so much just even in the last month. And good leaders do that. They teach you their skills. They leave, they don't just keep it for themselves. They give it out to others. It's unselfish. It's, you want other people to learn everything. I always try to do that. That's why I work with children. That's why I run community service projects. I want kids to learn. It's wonderful. Everyone has to, that's why I ask all of you, come on, get involved in the community, help. Ruth is that person. She's always there to help me with community events. She always shows up. I love that about Ruth. Ruth's been a long time friend of mine. But everyone needs to get more involved. Our board needs to get more involved. Instead of, we need to work together. We shouldn't be divided. That's why Joe and I said, if you don't want us to be in president, vice president spot, but we're at this impasse. And now it's a push-pull. But we have to proceed. Even if we're here now, we can't sit here now for 2 hours and try to work on this now. Maybe we need another executive session or two privately, but we still need to appoint if we can't decide this tonight.
Yeah, so
Maybe you don't like that I'm president, but keep me president for tonight. We still need our committee assignments. We still need to appoint our township staff. And whether we agree or not, we can.
let's do this.
We need
Let's
to-
take,
We need to.
yes,
Tonight,
yeah, let's take a breather.
we need to.
Let's take a
forward
breather.
tonight.
Let's take a breather.
It's like we are not
I'm
able
gonna,
to conduct
I'm gonna
our
ask,
township business.
I'm gonna ask the board to take a 5-minute breather. Right, let's just take a moment to step away. Right, and I also think that perhaps we should
This is
bypass the
true.
discussion and move on to the rest, but before we do that, let's just take a couple minutes. Let's just take a couple minutes.
Well, we even have to set our township.
I need to find this.
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
let's get,
alright.
let's get Joe some space, let's get him some air. Here, watch out, you guys. Here, give Joe some space.
That'd be 5 seconds.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a 5-minute reset.
Are you calling in executive session?
No,
No, we're
just a
just taking
5-minute
a
recess. Okay. We're gonna reconvene the meeting, and at the time, we have agreed that we are going, or we are going to go through resolutions and consider resolutions for appointing our staff and consultants. So commissioners, in our tablets, on an effort to move forward, we have resolutions for our staff appointments. The first resolution is resolution 2601. It's appointing our township manager, Christopher Hoffman. Do you have any questions? Anyone?
No way.
Okay. It's resolution 2601, appointing township manager Christopher Hoffman. I'd like to make that motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Motion's been moved and seconded to appoint Christopher Hoffman. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion's passed. Thank you, commissioners. Next resolution is 2602, appointing township engineer Timothy Woodrow, Woodrow Associates. Any questions?
No.
Sorry.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Motion
second it.
second. Motion's been moved and seconded to appoint township engineer Timothy Woodrow. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you, commissioners. Motion's passed. Next resolution is resolution 2603, appointing township solicitor John Rice, Grim, Bean and Thatcher. Any questions, comments?
No.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to appoint township solicitor John Rice. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay,
Okay.
we would like to put it out to bid and see who else comes in and what options we have in front of us.
Okay.
I agree with that.
We had.
Can we finish off the agenda and we'll come back to that one?
I think we had
The
three.
motion doesn't pass.
It's
Three, it doesn't pass.
So let's go to
Okay.
2604 and then keep on. Yeah.
Yes. Resolution 2604, appointing township manager for Two and Associates. We have Frank Chebnikow, and he's our land planner. Like to make, does any questions regarding Frank?
No.
He sits on our planning commission. I'd like to make a motion appointing Ratu and Associates.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any opposed?
No.
No.
Carries.
Motion's carried. Next resolution is 2605, appointing Township Secretary Christopher Hoffman. Any questions regarding that?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion
Second.
appointing Township Secretary Christopher Hoffman. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion's passed. Next, resolution 2602, appointing Township Treasurer Christopher Hoffman. I'd like to make a motion appointing.
Second.
Motion's been moved in second. Appointing Treasurer Township. The Township Manager Christopher Hoffman. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion's passed. Next is resolution 2607, appointing Township Assistant Manager and Finance Director EJ Lee.
For Assistant Secretary, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Or
Motion's been
excuse me,
moved.
Assistant Township Manager.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion's passed. Next is resolution 2608, appointing Assistant Township Secretary EJ Lee.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you. Motion's passed. Resolution 2609, appointing Township Traffic Engineer Bowman. They provide traffic services to Lower Moreland Township. Motion appointing them.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. Motion's passed. Next is resolution 2610, appointing Township Vacancy Board Member Frank Spada. He's been on for quite some time.
We've gotten word that he is moving
That
and will not be a part of.
That is what I heard, but he didn't send the letter in, so we'll appoint him temporarily till he does.
Well, actually, we have another suggestion.
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to appoint Laura Calvin. She's been to many
Well-
meetings, she's run before.
we
She's
could do that,
involved.
but let's appoint him now, but then have Laura send her letter in.
I mean, if
Can we
he's
do that?
moving, then why would?
But he didn't send a letter into us yet. But
He
Todd Laura
did
sent a
to the
letter in
Township of He did resign.
He did?
from the township.
right now.
Well, no, I thought that was Jerry DeMarco. Didn't he resign
Right.
from the authority? Jerry.
But I don't think Frank sent it
Yeah,
in yet,
Frank
but
did
tell
send
Laura
it.
to send, I mean.
Oh, sure,
we could
yeah.
just-
I mean, so I guess two
Yeah.
things here. So if there's other candidates that are interested, then one, we should ask for other candidates that
Right,
are interested, and they
right.
should be vetted. So
Right,
I don't think we're in a position to be able to nominate people tonight if
then,
Frank is.
what do we do?
So
then? What do you wanna
either
Okay.
if Frank is moving, then
But he didn't send the letter in yet.
if we don't know that, then we don't know that. So
We don't know it.
Have we
That's what I'm saying.
interviewed for this position in the past?
I just don't.
I wasn't.
I believe we have. I believe there was an interview. Actually, he's been in there.
He's been in there for a long time, but you
Yeah,
know,
no,
I just wanted,
I can't
just
say that.
commissioners, just, I wanted, God forbid, if anything happened to us. He steps up, if one of us, say I got in a serious car accident, something happened to me, you want him to come and fill in for me.
Well,
So I want to at least have him here, but then Laura, tell her to send that
Wait.
in, and then,
Do we know if this man is moving out of the township?
well, he didn't send a letter in.
He hasn't sent his letter yet.
So-
Has anybody,
I can ask for
has
that.
anybody contacted him and asked him if he wants his position back?
not that I'm aware of, Chuck.
So if we
So I-
heard that he was moving, why didn't one of us reach out to this gentleman and say, do you want this position?
This is the first I'm hearing. of it. But I agree, if we would have had notice on that, we should have got a letter. And if he's moving, we should have the position posted saying we have a vacancy coming up, let's get applicants for it.
Well, why don't we table this?
I don't think we're in a position to be able to act on this because, you know.
We can table this though.
Yeah, that's
Until we contact Frank, and then we'll see if Frank says, well, I am moving, but it could be another year, it could be tomorrow, so why don't we table this issue and then contact Frank and see if he's going to be here, or if he doesn't want this position anymore, and then we start interviewing.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
what I'm
We
gonna
can
tell
add it to our
you,
next
what I'm gonna tell you, commissioners, is if I leave here tonight and I get in a car accident. and I get
We,
killed.
we understand.
This is
It's
the
not
person that
forbid that
steps
we
in.
put the worst thing here on the table like you're
Right.
doing. This gentleman's been here for a long time. He's been here, he's been
Yeah.
involved. okay?
Yeah,
And.
so we
and
want this person
If you
appointed.
talk to somebody that he's moving, we're gonna have to revisit this in 3 months again.
We'll have to revisit it ASAP, so.
Yeah, right.
How
So,
far
I
send
mean-
send a resume, and we'll interview him.
He's still there. We table the issue until we hear from the gentleman.
Let's
Well,
let's
he
give
was
ourselves.
in the seat,
Right,
right?
but we table this though.
Oh, all right.
No, let's push it to February, and in that time, in the
Well,
next couple
what's
weeks,
the
we can
February?
reach out and just understand what his position is.
That's fine.
And then we go.
Because it will just remain, God forbid,
Yeah.
somebody gets hit by a car.
Okay. Next, resolution 2611, appointing township human relations mediator. That is a 1-year term. Currently, there is Mindy Torchman serves in as the position, and Ruth and I spoke about another person that might be interested.
Yeah, Erica Greenblatt Hyde, who
Yeah.
had originally petitioned to be in that position, so you've seen her resume. Is still interested in doing it. I think it's a good switch out. She's got a lot more
Well-
experience.
Again, I have no problem with Erica. Love Erica. She's a great person.
Yeah,
We hear from Mindy saying she doesn't want it anymore, and if so, we need to, again, with everything, post it in an interview.
yeah,
Yeah, we didn't hear from Mindy, so we need to post it
yeah, we do have to post it, and.
if she doesn't want to continue. And if she wants to continue, we should interview like we've been doing with every other board and
In a
commission.
position, right,
Well, we've already interviewed Erica in the past, when we set up this position.
Yeah,
But
that was
that's-
4 years, 2 years ago or 4 years ago?
no, while ago.
I don't know.
Has anyone spoken to Mindy?
No.
Okay, so then that's another one that needs to be taken.
Okay.
Yeah, we can table it.
These things are not automatic. I mean,
Yeah, that's
just
supposed to be
because
discussing. it.
somebody.
We've never had a
position-
claim at all since we set this up, just to let everybody know. So we can table,
Talk to her to see if she's still interested.
Yeah, but-
If Erica's interested, then.
Again, it should be the same as any other commission or board that we have. When there's a vacancy or there's a reappointment, our policy now is to interview the people that are interested, even if they're currently serving, to make sure they're still the best candidate for it. We should be doing that for any of these that are seeking reappointment if we have any doubt or question. That's my personal belief in following our policy that we've established over the course of the last couple of years.
we'll follow the same policy and procedure.
You know,
And next, just to go over is to announce our schedule of public meetings for 2026. And it's all commissioners. Do you have any questions regarding?
I have a conflict on 12/8 of 2026.
Okay,
Requesting that we can either move a week up or a week back if possible.
okay, so I don't have a problem with moving a week up or a week back, and bring that to Manager Hoffman's attention.
Wait,
Well,
the
no,
week of, you're saying the week of the 8th.
yeah, the week of the 8th, I have a conference that I'm gonna be out of town for. It's every year and it's a conflict for me. I can probably zoom into it as I did this prior year. But if we can move it a week prior or a week back, it would help me out greatly. Okay. If not, we'll make it work.
I mean, I'm in a similar position for March, but it's my intention to come in remote.
I haven't been to night.
Yeah, I get you, I get you.
Supposed to be,
I'm just saying, yeah, we looking at the,
Yeah, and I have no problem if we have to do it for a week to accommodate the schedules of commissioners.
can we check with Manager Hoffman before we commit to it, and I need to check.
Sure, and did anybody see anything that we might have missed? I really took a look at all the holidays that might be, and so did Manager Hoffman and EJ and Leah. They tried to scan everything.
It's pretty clean here.
It
Yeah.
looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And everything said, our authority, our planning commission, our zoning hearing board, the township holidays and everything else to be observed. Our boards and commission meetings. So just let everybody know. And always in question for the planning commission is November and December. It always falls around Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday.
So the week before will be the first. That what we're saying?
yeah, I mean, I know Chris isn't here to speak for himself, but my sense would be, given that this meeting was 1 week later,
Yeah.
making February 1 week sooner would probably be at least hard for him, if not,
It
there
will
might
be
not
hard
be
for him
enough
to work
to
on
put
the
together.
agenda. Yeah, the agenda left.
I'm talking about February, I'm talking about February, what
Yeah.
Joe proposed. Is that?
No,
I'm sorry, did
I
just-
said December.
Oh, I think you said February. I think
No.
it's 2,
It was December 8th.
Yeah, December.
I misheard. Okay. Yeah,
I think
I don't have no
probably-
idea what's going on in December, so that works for me.
A week back might be better. But
Yeah, either the
Yeah.
15th or the 1st.
I thought you said 2.
No, not that quick.
Alright. So, I guess we can go back, you know.
Well, I think we should just come back. In terms of the appointments,
See
because we had a disagreement on the
As a-
town solicitor. And I think at this stage, there was a recommendation that we might go to RFP. I suspect we need a motion to make that happen. Does
I'll
anyone?
make a motion that we put this township solicitor position up for bid.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to send the solicitor position out for, RFP. All those in favor, please.
Can we have a discussion for
Go
1
ahead.
second first?
We should.
Is there a reason
Yeah.
why? That you want to put it out for bid?
Why I think we should go out to bid for a
Yeah.
solicitor. I mean, I think that. Well, I'll point to these last 2 weeks. I think we've gotten some. I think less than sort of advice on how to handle these meetings. I think last week when we had 2 votes and we had no consensus. The decision by our solicitor was to just say, all right, we're done, we don't need to talk about this anymore, let's move on to the next one. To me, does not instill confidence in the capabilities right now. I also think we've been working with John for a long time, and I think it's probably a good idea for us to bring in a different perspective, right? A new perspective on the things that are going on. And I think also it's important for us to work with solicitors that have more experience in Montgomery County, that might have connections into Montgomery County. And I think there are some really good options for us that would allow for that sort of connection.
Sean, you remind me of my little son. You know, you didn't go to law school though, but this is our lawyer. He's an attorney. He went to law school. And
I didn't say he
yeah,
wasn't.
but Sean, you're challenging what our attorney is. He's giving us his legal opinion.
I understand.
Wait, but this is what he read us is according to the First Class Township Code. It's a code. It's legal. It's a legal document.
Right. And I understand
So
the
what
difference.
he's saying is you are challenging that legal code and that legal document.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that's, you're challenging that, but on what basis? So us as commissioners, we lean on the people that we have to trust, our attorneys, our engineer, our land planner. These are, the representatives in our township that we have to trust. We have to trust them with their opinions.
That is absolutely.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
So,
we
And that's
don't
exactly
feel
why
that
I'm
we
suggesting this.
Then I think we need to put it out.
Yeah.
If half the board at least feels that they cannot rely on the opinion of the current visitor, and I'm so sorry, this is terribly awkward.
how can you base your opinion on that First Class Township Code?
It's not about that.
Let me say something. Let me say something.
John, let the commissioners go first and then go for some.
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Right?
But I opened it for discussion, right?
Okay.
So how can you say that that's not
Go
true?
back.
There's a motion.
Where's your,
There is, but I called for discussion and I allowed
You're
it.
right.
One particular thing for me.
And I just want to give Bruce.
Just to-
Yeah.
Denise, it's actually, it's everything you just said. You're right, we do have to trust these people. And everyone we went through that list and we said yay with no discussion, we trust those people. This one, we don't. There's not clear consensus and trust, and that is important for us. So I think it's important for us to see what other people are out there who that we could build that trust and relationship with. And for the record, I'm not suggesting that, John's interpretation of the code, and that's not necessarily, I was challenging that interpretation, but why I'm advocating this right now, it was the move to just bowl through it rather than to open discussion, right? To allow for what we're doing today, which is healthy and the right thing to do for the township, to do it publicly. That was not right. That was the counsel we got that made me question whether or not we should continue on with this one.
You're talking about the executive session.
I'm talking about that executive session.
Yeah, so just a couple comments. So, for all meetings, the discussion is absolutely. So I don't think there's any problem there. my comments on solicitor rights is what I've observed is that there are interpretations that the solicitor has made. You may not like them. I may not like them, you may not like them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're necessarily wrong. Right? So if there is a motion for us to open this up for bid because of all the reasons that you said that you have lost faith or that this is a financial concern, or that there may be some other individuals or other firms that might be better equipped, then we should have the discussions on what that RFP process would look like and how we could do it. I don't think it's necessarily going to be settled, at this juncture with, we're already late for our next meeting. So what I would recommend is that we can, like we've tabled some of these other things, need to have other conversations about it, and then we can make the decision on whether or not we have a motion to go out to an RFP process, what that would look like, and where we need to go. I hadn't necessarily considered this, so, someone off guard, around that. I know we talked about it weeks ago maybe, but I'd like to consider it for.
I think just right now, we voted for appointing John and we were a 3-3 split, that motion fails.
Right.
So I would rather us start the process now of getting counsel in place than be without a solicitor for some period of time until we decide to go find another solicitor.
But your interpretation of it, so my interpretation of what our solicitor has advised us is that on motions that fail, they stay until there's a change, right? So my interpretation based on what our solicitor has advised us, and I know you have a different reading of the code, but my understanding of it is that if we are split at this point in time, John stays on as solicitor until there's another process.
This isn't a reappointment. This is an appointment, right? We are appointing a solicitor. We don't have a solicitor. We're appointing one. We have legal counsel that we can rely on, but none of these things are in effect until we make the motion to appoint them.
I disagree. I believe the wording in the first class code says the solicitor serves until he is replaced.
It says at the pleasure of the board.
At the play, all right, thank you.
Same with the engineer. Actually, the same with the vacancy board chair, which came up earlier.
Right.
The code says that person stays on.
And I'm not saying that we don't engage with John moving forward. In fact, I think it would be negligent for us to do so. We would need to retain his services. Chris needs him, EJ needs him, many people need him until we find somebody. But at this stage right now, our discussion is whether or not to appoint John as township solicitor, and that motion failed. So I'm proposing a path forward, which would allow for us to go to RP.
Sean, I don't believe we ever made that motion.
We did.
We did.
We made a motion.
We made the
We
motion.
said you seconded it. We voted 3-3.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
The first class
Yeah,
township
just a little
code.
bit off. I thought we were on the motion right now, whether or not to go out to RFP.
That is
The
what-
initial motion failed, correct?
Correct.
That's
This motion right here is for the RFP, if we.
To go
were to- Exactly, that's where we're.
Because the other alternative would be to name somebody right now and appoint them. And I don't believe we have in a position where we have consensus of someone.
All right,
And I think we talked about past policies and interviewing, and I think that's.
gotcha. All right,
Okay, so that motion did fail, that resolution 2603, appointing the township solicitor. So
now there was a motion for an RFP,
The
correct?
motion to put out for RFP, and that was seconded, and if we are done discussion,
Correct.
we can
No,
vote.
I would.
No, I'm not saying
That
this,
still has.
but if that's.
No, so is there a motion to put it out for RFP and then there's discussion?
Right, and that's what we've been.
And that's what we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Been seconded.
So my comments on, I would say, I would want to table this till next month. I would like to have additional conversations on whether or not the RFP process is necessary. So, that's what I would prefer to do.
As opposed to just naming somebody.
No.
No, I'm saying like, the motion didn't pass because that hasn't been named. So at this point, I would say, we have the additional discussion on whether or not we're gonna come back to John or whether or not we're gonna go to an RFP.
I mean, we can discuss it right now.
Dennis, that's why we took a vote,
A couple weeks from now, my opinion's not gonna change on that.
and then we're tied at 3-3. As a board, we have a right to have legal counsel. If we can't agree on legal counsel, we have the right to put it out for bid. Okay?
And there's no reason that.
And there's no reason that his firm can't rebid. Okay? So we have that right as Board of Commissioners to put it out for bid. And he can go back and explain to his board that we have to rebid on this process to become the solicitor of Moreland Township again. It's nothing against that. Everybody has a fair shot here when you put a bid in.
Chuck, I agree with you on what you're saying. I think what Dennis is saying, is can we table this for 1 month?
Why are we delaying the
But
inevitable?
I
It's
think
going
that
to
just puts us in a worse
be
position.
Yeah.
Because I expressed my opinion, that's not gonna be.
Three on the RFP, and the RFP doesn't pass and gets advertised. I'd rather table it for the month than just get shot down right now.
So,
Well, if it gets shot down right now, Joe, then we have no legal counsel.
We do,
We
the
do.
current solicitor would.
Remains, he remains.
remains at the pleasure of the board and does not have that right, fortunately. I would also make a motion that Chris can retain his services as needed to complete his position as township manager and those of the staff and the appointments of the township until such time. But we're not gonna discuss offline and then come back and say like, yeah. I changed my mind and let's move forward, John. Which is what tabling this discussion would mean right now.
All right,
And I'm telling you right now, we've expressed our feelings and they're deep, and this is a very important role.
Mhm.
And I think we owe it to everybody. We owe it to the 6 of us to find someone that we can rally on, kind of consensus.
We're coming up to 7:15. We had three items. We had 3 items here.
Can Commissioner Houser please say her comments and we're still.
I mean, while we're getting the RFP ready, because first we have to get the packet ready to send it. So that would take some time. That's why I'd like us to get started now.
Yeah.
And then, we put it out to bid, and then we have to review all the bids as they come back. During all that time, we'll need solicitor advice.
I agree with that.
It's gonna take-
But I also think that, we need to look at how other townships and their solicitors interact. And you're with Radnor, so we know that it's probably similar to here, but I think we need to,
The law firm represents about 22 municipalities.
Yeah.
And there's 8 of us that just represent municipalities, so it's not. And they're all over, they're Delaware County, they're Chesterfield, they're Bucks County, they're Monroe County, they're Lehigh County, and they're Northampton County, so. That's not just John Rice, as you all know, because some of you have worked with some of the
Yeah,
other
gave us some of your part. Yeah.
attorneys and, it's, so.
So over the course of the last 6 years that I've been here, I've been dealing with John. He's been absolutely excellent in responsive, same with his firm. In my profession, I deal with solicitors in other boroughs, other counties, and they have left more to be desired and are not nearly as responsive. I'm very
that's something
comfortable.
we'll take into account.
I'm very comfortable with his services and his firm services, and I do not wish to make a change at this time. That's my opinion.
My reservations on this right now and why I'm suggesting the table is also around that we have some legal opinions around some other agenda items that we haven't worked through yet. John's provided us with that advice. He's the solicitor for the township at present. Making a change or proposing a change that removes John at this point, or decisions that have been made, I think further complicates the issue of bringing in another law firm. So I'm open to this further discussion, but I think at this juncture, with some of the other things that we've talked about for the last hour and 15 minutes now, just doesn't feel like the right decision to do this at this moment. So, I'm not opposed to it. I hear what you're saying. I understand John's been around for a while. It makes some sense to me to be able to put this out to bid and consider it. My feeling is that we have some legal opinions that are out there that John has provided, and we should proceed now and how we work through some of this. I don't want to further complicate that by putting an RFP process out there to have another solicitor come at this point in time. So my suggestion is letting it table for a month. We weren't able to pass the election for reappointing John. John has an opinion on that. I would say not that your opinion's going to change in a month, but let's let this ride. Let's get through hopefully this other issue. And then I'm open to the conversation about the RFP.
Us making this decision right now speeds up, gets the township a solicitor faster. It might end up being John. We might look at all the candidates and say, yeah, you know what? This is our best choice. But if we delay a month, that's one less month that we have that position secured. And that doesn't
A
change.
month making a difference at this point in time.
That doesn't change the way that we've talked about this so far, we're not gonna come up with a different solution. We're just delaying for delaying's sake, which doesn't make any sense. And it's not right for the township. It's not right for the people who work for the township, who need a solicitor to be a part of it. We have a solicitor. We have legal services at this point, but we don't have a solicitor.
I disagree
need
with
to
what you're
get-
saying.
Disagree all you want. That's the case.
It's
We have not appointed a solicitor. We do not have one. We need to get one. And this is a process to get us one.
So according to First Place Township Code, the solicitor remains at the pleasure of the board until he's
Okay.
somebody else's appointed.
Would you tell me the pleasure that he has? Because right now he doesn't.
It's 3-3. There's.
So that's what I'm saying.
When we're.
That's what I'm saying. We are so dug in here that we're just gonna delay and put the township at risk.
Different.
Because of what? Because we have a different opinion, because we don't like that we have to make a hard decision right now. That's not right for the township. It's not fair to them. And you're to delay is not right, and it's not.
All right, so there's a motion. There's been discussion. Go for the vote.
Motion's been moved and seconded.
No. Sorry, Bill.
To put it out for.
Motion's been moved and seconded
For
to
RFP.
put an RFP out for township solicitor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Roll call 3-3 doesn't pass.
Okay.
Thanks.
So for these appointments, then we will further discuss, just to summarize. Future RFP for solicitor, just to summarize.
And HR mediator.
HR mediator and vacancy board member.
Again, the vacancy for chair stays in there. Until that person is, and if he moves out, he's disqualified, but he stays in that position, so you're not without a vacancy for chairperson.
Okay. But that makes me comfortable.
So don't worry about
Anything-
driving home.
Driving home and somebody hits me.
I'm more worried about the.
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah, they're driving up, it's just.
Since it is 7:20, what do we have?
Look, I mean, so.
I think we need to come back.
It's easy, Jeff. We take 5 minutes just to stretch our legs.
Yeah,
We're not done. I'm fine taking another 5 minutes.
Well, no, I mean, we still have the other.
We still gotta get back to the president and vice president.
Yeah, we saw.
Well, before we table that back to list, you can't come to an agreement.
We need to figure this out. We made a commitment. We need to uphold that commitment. Right, to delay it until it is, I mean, I said, it's not right and it's not fair. Right, I think that is abusing the system just to get out of a hard decision. So let's take 5, let's get back to the discussion.
Right. Now,
Take 5, I'm not saying, let's take 5.
I want to just
Take a 5-minute break.
follow up though, because Solicitor Rice did say in his memo, if anyone had any questions or any other opinions or whatnot, if maybe you sought another legal opinion somehow, some way. Maybe you have a relative that's a lawyer or an attorney or a brother-in-law.
Denise,
Jeff?
like Denise, the job is, the solicitor has written a memo on explaining what is in the situation. And he's the township solicitor, so he's written a note on what happens, and that's what we want, so.
That was what he said, reach out if you had any questions
When you had it, or
any other different way that you looked at it or saw.
But I don't think John is not the arbiter, but he doesn't make that decision. That's not the role of a solicitor. He is suggesting that we can't come to consensus and we go to court. A judge will make a decision, and he is offering what he believes that judge will decide. But if we're looking at this with judge, we do not. We don't want to get tried.
I agree, Lucian, I agree, we're at an impasse to this.
Yeah, and no one is discuss, and we're trying to have the discussion about why we're at the impasse. And again, I remain to hear an argument for why we think that Ruth's experience does not trump everything else that Dennis and Ruth share.
Hey, Sean, for the last 2 years, Dennis has been on the solicitor meeting every month. Setting the
Okay,
agenda and everything else.
Okay, I agree.
I don't believe Ruth has been on that meeting ever, correct?
I've never been allowed. If there's sunshine law, it only allows three people.
Three
and I've never
commissioners,
been
so
invited.
he's been in there, and from an experience status, if that's what you're going with.
But did you hear what
He's
Rebecca
good.
said? She was never allowed because of the Sunshine Act. We have to follow the Sunshine Act.
And you can have three.
But you can have
It's
three.
only one meeting. In
Yeah.
the totality of all the things.
Exactly.
And we do quite a lot.
We do.
Right,
Our hands are in every piece of the pie all around the township.
yeah, this is about collective experience. It's about collective experience.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
But looking at the big picture. I'm
That's
still staying where I'm at.
Okay.
on this. Let's take the 5-minute break.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Let's take a 5-minute break.
Let's
All
adjourn.
right, we have a 5-minute
Okay,
recess.
we'll take 5-minute recess. We're reconvening the reorganization meeting. It's about 7:32. So we had 2 nominations for president of the Board of Commissioners. One for Dennis Mueller and one for Ruth Townsend. And they both failed. That's where we were at, and we were discussing. That was up for discussion. So we are back discussing. We took a few minute break. We went through some resolutions, appointing staff, and we announced our schedule for public meetings for 2026. And this is where we're at. So commissioners,
Proud
who
of
wants to pick up?
this board for moving past our differences and trying to resolve these things and having what I consider to be a fairly open and honest discussion of who we want to be president and vice president. And I also am extremely flattered that anyone would consider me as for you, to be honest. And I have to say that Commissioner Canale, I am very impressed with the way you have essentially put your ego aside, which is not easy for any of us, not all of us for any of us. So we all have a little bit there, but, and offered to step down, and Commissioner Pert, Madam President, who I talked into running for president. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, you did. Thank you, Ruth.
I also appreciate the way that you have, offered to step down, despite your 20+ years of experience. Right now, we need to figure out a couple of things. I mean, we have the usual ordinary business of, planning. We have our usual ordinary business of running the townships. We have the authority, we have the HARB, we have everything that we normally do. In addition to that, we have what's going on with the firehouse. And there's some minor disagreements, I think, between Dennis and myself on how to move forward with that. I think that is something that we should all take into account. I am familiar with all the players on both sides. I have worked with all of them. I even walk at the gym with one of them. That's neither here nor there. But I think that it's going to take slow, deliberate, and methodical to get this consolidation through. Excuse me for tripping over my words. I had not prepared the speech, and normally I will prepare these kind of things, but I was hoping that we would be done. Mainly because I do have the 6 years, and I do think that counts. I do think that is significant. I have nothing but good things to say about Commissioner Mueller. Nothing but good things to say about most of you, all of you, excuse me. That didn't come out very good, but still feel that I will take the time, I will plan, I will organize, I will be ready for every meeting. I will not dither. I will not. I will consider every opinion. I will talk to everyone before every meeting. I will take every opinion into consideration. And I will rule by consensus. I believe that that is how a township needs to run. It has to run like a business in some ways, but we cannot run like a business when it comes to volunteers and our township residents. With them, we need to come to a consensus. With them, we need to learn what their will is and respond to it. And that is something I think I am uniquely qualified.
Solicitor, I have a question. What's our time frame on this legally? Where's our time, since we're this 3-3 lock, we're stuck? Is our time, or do we have no time left?
You
Okay,
need,
do we have more time to discuss this as board?
well, you have
If
a-
we say remain the same, can we, where's our time? Legally.
there's no time, constraint in the code. I mean, the code says what some of you have heard me say and agree, some of you don't agree with. That if there's a impasse on the president, vice president, then there's no change. So right now you have 2 nominations. Is there any more nominations? Is there any new nominations? Ultimately, you've got to get to that.
I
Form.
think it was really great of you, Ruth, to share that. I think that was, we need to hear why you want to be president and why you're uniquely suited. I like to do the same. I want to understand why you really feel like you are the best suited for this. When you have, not just over Ruth, but over any of us to be in this position. Because if we're gonna find consensus, we've been talking about a lot of nice things about with you guys, again. We do have consensus on the fact that the 2 of you need spots. But we've heard a lot about why Ruth would be in a better position right now. I really want to understand why Dennis would be in a better position right now, and I'd like to hear from you.
Thank you. I would start off by saying that experience isn't just tenure sitting in the seat. So experience to me is the ability to be able to manage through situations. And within the township, although I've only been here 2 years, what I have been involved with is I was involved with the fire companies trying to bring some consensus to FMFR through that. So I inserted myself in that process. I saw that there was difficulty. I met with members of the fire company, I met with each of you to try to build consensus. Quite frankly, with the fire company, my initial reaction to it was one of, I was in disbelief that we could get past that. So I inserted myself in the process in order to bring consensus to that. So I have been involved. With respect to other experience, I sit on the solicitor meeting, I help set the agenda every single month, not just for the planning commission, but for other things. So experience to me isn't necessarily, tenure sitting in the seat because Ruth has been here 40 years longer. I think it's what I've been involved with and what I've been doing for the township since then. In terms of outside of the organization, I sit on, multiple other boards, bringing consensus. I'm in the corporate world where, I do a lot of this. So, from an experience standpoint, I'm not saying that the private world is any way related to how to govern, but I believe that governing and building consensus is all important. But at the end of the day, we have to make decisions and we have to be able to move forward. Through this process, I wasn't necessarily seeking this out in the beginning, but I've met with Ruth and have shown with you individually, and with Commissioner Page. And you all said, I think you're the best person qualified. And somehow that changed in the weeks leading up to it. And I'm not trying to rehash what was said before, but we are where we are today. I think I am uniquely qualified in order to bring consensus to the board and to lead the board. And I think I'm in a better spot than Ruth.
For the record, Dennis, I never said I thought you were the most qualified for our conversation that we had. At the end of the conversation, I told you, okay, when you couldn't pick Sean, okay, I said, then we're at a deadlock, Dennis. And your last words to me were, we still have 11 hours, Chuck. We had a good conversation up to that point, but I never said.
Now that the conversation, as you described it, you started it off as I described it. And what I did say, and the reason I said we still have 11 hours, because I was still hopeful that we'd be able.
Well, you
to
could
reach
come
a
up with a resolution, right, and there was none. There was none. That's why we're here tonight.
Right.
That's why we convened here tonight, okay? Right, okay, so I never said that I thought you would be the best spot for that president. Okay, I want to put that on the.
You didn't
record.
say that in the beginning of the conversation with him?
No, I did not. Dennis reached out to me, okay, and he said, we could probably work good together, Chuck, and I agreed with Dennis. I agreed a lot with Dennis during our conversation, okay?
Mhm.
But then I asked him about Sean, and he said, I can't do it. And I said, that makes us, we'll be at an impasse then. That's what I told
Going
him
for vice president.
who were president. Whatever we were talking about, president, vice president, they were going to flip flop, whatever they were going to do, because Dennis's opinion was because of Mrs. Blanton being the president of the school board, he thought it wouldn't look good. But we're two different entities, as I explained the last meeting.
As I am with the fire.
As
Thank
you are-
for making my point.
No, there's a conflict with you and the
Go ahead.
fire department, okay? And our conversation ended, and you told me we have 11 hours. And then after that, I spoke with Sean. I said, have you spoke to Dennis? And he said, I haven't. I said, well, he can't vote for you. Now, they approached you, Dennis. Sean and Ruth did, because I was delayed being commissioner, okay? Because we were in court proving that I won this race, okay? So I wasn't in all the conversations, but I never agreed with you for president. And I want to put that on record, okay? I was the one who suggested that Ruth become president because of her time on the board, okay? And I sat back there for 12 years as a taxpayer and as a resident. And I watched these past board members attack Ruth. Okay, I can remember the first time Ruth took that seat and she wasn't allowed to vote on an issue per Solicitor Rice. Okay, I couldn't say anything then, but now I'm saying it. Okay, so please do not put words in my mouth. If I said I thought you were qualified, we might not even be here today. We might be all over with and having a regular monthly meeting with the board. But I didn't say that. And I want to be perfectly clear here. I do believe that Ruth deserves this spot for some of the things that she went through when she first took that seat. Okay? And she worked hard, and she works hard in the community, and she's very well respected. And she has been working very, very hard with the fire department. Okay? And information that I wasn't privy to because I wasn't commissioner until January 9th. That's when, or the 8th of January, that's when the judge signed the order, okay? But what I had to go through to get here is what Ruth had to go through when she first took this position. And I think that's why Ruth has the experience to lead this board. And I will stand behind Ruth 110% as president of this Board of Commissioners.
So,
And
you
she's
know,
acknowledged
that's
a lot of
years that I've been on.
I'll just respond for a second. We have a different opinion of our conversation. And, so you have recollection of one way, I have recollection of a different way, and how that conversation started, like you said to me. I agree with how the conversation ended. And, we're of a different opinion on who's in a better seat, so.
So going back to Ruth being on the board for 6 years, I've been sitting up here 6 years with you. Never once have I seen you attacked or any other commissioner outright attacked by another commissioner or anybody else. From residents?
I didn't say you.
Absolutely. No, I'm saying any commissioner that was sitting up here. I'm saying we've had it from residents, but never a fellow commissioner. And that's how I was perceiving what you were saying, just to clarify that. I've never seen them. And I'm just asking, is that actually true that you felt like you were attacked by?
No, I have never felt like I was attacked, but
I don't think
that
I
was
do.
just.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever attacked another.
You're sitting back there.
It's not.
That's fine,
Okay.
but
But that,
again,
right now, I've been commissioner for what, 20 days?
Something like that,
Okay,
12.
12, okay? It should be 20, but 12, okay? But what I seen sitting back there with Mr. George, that's my opinion.
Everybody's entitled to their
It's
opinion.
correct.
Right, and you know, going back to Ruth's experience is not just sitting on this board for 6 years, right? And building off of what Chuck is saying, in spite of all of that, in spite of not being involved and not being allowed to be involved, not being invited to be involved, she's gotten a lot of things done. She's built tremendous relationships. She's made this board work better than it used to. Right, and that doesn't take away anyone else's experience. It doesn't take away anything that you've done in your 2 years, Dennis. But that experience and that amount that she has done does trump that in this moment. In this moment, we need someone who has been involved with all that stuff, who understands the players, who understands how they'll work. And you getting yourself involved too is why you're being a part of this discussion as well. Again, we know that this is the group that we need to move forward with. And that's not, I don't think that's for debate at all. We just need to figure out who we feel comfortable sitting in the presidency and who we feel sitting in the vice presidency. And right now, again, I hear you on the experience. I hear you on the things that you do, right? I also do things. I'm also involved with some other stuff, but I haven't been doing for as long. And I haven't been involved with as many people as Ruth has. And that's why Ruth is uniquely suited to be president in this situation between the two of you.
Sean, going to your comments right now. The only reason I'm not going for the president spot, VP spot, is because I know I cannot build consensus to get the votes here right now. When it comes from an experience standpoint, I've been here at the same time as Ruth. I hold a master's in public safety and served on public safety and in the solicitors meetings for the last 6 years. 4 years consistently, 2 years off and on prior to that. From an experience standpoint, I should be pushing for this. I know it's not going to happen. I know I'll never get your support on this. We are trying to build consensus. We had that consensus, I thought, built with Dennis and Ruth or Dennis and yourself. That got torpedoed an hour before the meeting on the 9th, I believe it was. The original was the 5th, the 9th, the second meeting. And then coming in tonight, again, I reached out, tried to get some consensus and talked to Ruth, and we were unable to get it done because right now we're down to one vote that's separating us. And right now, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ruth for the vice president's position.
Okay, that's not up for, that's not what we're discussing right now.
Well, anything's up. Isn't it the president and VP that are the two spots up right now? We're having an open discussion.
I
So can I make a motion right now on that?
I suppose you can.
So is there a second for that motion?
Second that motion. Motion's been moved and seconded to nominate Ruth Housen as vice president of the Moreland Township Board of Commissioners. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
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 Okay.
But I do appreciate the
Yeah.
As I
And
told
again,
you,
Joe, I'm not saying anything about your experience. I'm not taking that away from you. I think you have tremendous experience. You've counseled me, you've educated us tremendously. That's not what's being discussed right now. Because again, the four of us at least have put nominations only to those two. The only, like, the thing we agree with right now is that at this moment, for at least these next 2 years, we've all four of us agree that Ruth and Dennis need to lead this board.
well,
That's what we're agreeing right now. I mean, that's what we've been agreeing to in, let's say, in spirit, all right? Yes, motions can be thrown out. You can nominate yourself, nominate me, you can nominate me.
and I nominated Denise and that was shut down also. So she was also.
Okay, but you did that to prove a point there, right? Not because you were advocating for her in this moment.
When
Right.
we had the
When I-
last meeting.
If we are
that's
trying
what
to
was going on.
discuss, if we're trying to decide who is going to be as president, who's going to lead as vice president, right? Let's like really truly break this down. The two of them work together, right? They work together to set the agenda. They work together to lead these meetings. Okay? What separates those two is president needs to be here, more available, and be able to connect with the township, connect with people who work there, and have those relationships and build off of those. And that is what I'm saying is that Ruth has done more of it. She's been on this board longer and had opportunity to do more of it and has taken advantage of that opportunity.
And I
They
disagree with
work off
your
of
opinion
that.
on that.
You think that her relationships are not not.
No, I think our
You don't think you've been
relationships are
working with-
very good, but I believe Dennis has equal relationships throughout the whole township.
Okay.
And
Can I
with
ask you a
the
question?
planning commission.
How much do you travel for your work? Because I know you do have to travel, you've had to be remote.
My travel is really irrelevant to this because I haven't missed any meetings within the board.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, Because I've had trouble with my own too, right? Our jobs ask us to do that, right? So we've had to carry these meetings. So if you've had to miss a couple of meetings because you've been remote, right? Again, we have to get so nitty gritty right now to figure this out because our agreement is that the two of these people need to work together to lead us, to bring us together, and we all agree on that. So we have to figure out what is it that separates the two, so that we can say, okay, yes, that matters. Okay, and I do believe that Ruth's experience makes that, but we're arguing that Dennis has really great experience. Like he does, and I don't take that away from him. So that's why I asked the question. How many of these meetings do you think you can absolutely be at in person that you can commit to based off of your work track?
With the last 2 years, I think I took one meeting remotely.
I believe it's been more than that.
You can check the record.
Okay.
It hasn't.
But
It hasn't.
so again,
It hasn't been.
that's why I'm asking.
So I
is
have control
how
over
often-
my travel schedule, and I arrange my work schedule around my township schedule, so. In terms of availability, I haven't not been available for the township. There's been a single time I think I've missed a meeting.
So that's why I'm trying to figure out what is it about the two of you that can separate, that can help us all figure this out. Right, because I know you do travel a lot, so I want to make sure that our president is in this township when needed. Right, not just available for meetings, but all the other meetings too, right? Because in this position, we'd be meeting fairly regularly, right? At least weekly, probably more than that. Called in to do things, Denise can talk to that. How often are you at the township building? Involved with various things that you happen?
A lot.
Pretty regularly, right? Multiple times a week,
So you're.
right?
ready for
So I think that
changes.
that is an advantage that we've had, that she is here.
Again,
She doesn't have demands that
9%
around
has to be
here.
done
I think
remote.
that's important. I think that's
There's a
important
lot of
consideration.
signatures too.
Yeah, so I just think it's an important consideration. That doesn't take away anything that Dennis is capable of doing.
I
But
think,
is very
we have to
helpful.
split hairs at this point.
I think it's an invalid argument with the technology we have now. We have 80% of our meetings via Zoom or whatever else that we need to have. Doesn't matter if he's sitting here in Lower Moreland or if he's sitting in Timbuktu. That's my personal belief. As long as he's able to attend and give his opinion, that's all that matters.
I like commenting. It's not so much.
I believe that. I totally believe that.
I think it
Again,
helps.
I am trying to split hairs here because we need to figure something out. We need to figure out what it is that
We
separates.
do, otherwise Denise is gonna remain and I'm gonna remain.
If that is not true.
That is
That's
John's
not true.
interpretation of
Okay,
what I'm going.
that is advice that we've been given, but that does not make it true, nor does it make it actually.
But your opinion isn't true.
Okay, I understand.
I have to go with what the solicitor tells me.
He's advising what happens if we go to no. That's what he's advising.
No, he's advising what happens tonight if we can't come to consensus. That the township continues with Denise as president and myself as VP. We're giving you an option to change that right now. I would like to again nominate
Okay.
Dennis Mueller for
So-
president.
So what you are saying to the township, to the residents of this township,
That is what.
is
the
that vote your way,
code said.
or else you will obstruct and continue to obstruct. And just let that's what you just said.
It's not.
You just said, I'm giving you a chance.
Clearly stated.
I don't
If we do
I
not
don't think
come
that
to
is fair.
consensus,
Right, for the
well,
township.
that's your opinion, but that's not what I stated. I said, per the solicitor, if we do not come to consensus tonight, Denise will remain president. I will remain vice president. That's what I said.
And then you said,
Sean, I.
you have a chance
and I
to
represent
vote this
the
way.
I said, we have a
This
chance to change it.
Very well.
We have to accommodate and compromise with each other.
I understand that. I'm looking for that from somebody on the board.
Step down as vice president.
That's not a compromise.
Oh, it
That's
is
not a
compromise in my mind.
Yes.
That's what compromise?
Back
You don't make that choice.
for
That's
your.
not-
The
We
president
are
made that choice.
compromising for you
Do you want me to
guys.
compromise? I'll step down from my committees too. I'll do something different. Like that's what you're saying to me. That's not
You're not.
compromise. And you're positioning it as if I am trying to like make this a difficult, challenging position.
No,
Right?
you,
I am trying to figure out what it is about the two of these that will allow us to say, yes, for this reason, and only for this reason alone, that's what this person says in,
Yeah.
right? And if what you're saying to me is that we vote for Dennis, or we don't vote and we continue on with the two of you,
no.
then what happens next month?
What I'm
What
saying
happens
is.
the month after that? What
If we
happens
don't
next
come-
year?
So what
Are you
happens
still
is-
president? Are you still vice president?
Yes.
Without any vote, without any vote.
Saying yes. I'm not putting any of the rights out there.
The township
I'm
code-
stating fact.
The township code does not say that we just continue on indefinite until we come to a decision.
To be perfectly honest, this is all kind of beside the point, but I appreciate all you guys putting out there. What we need to do is figure out. You know, what we're going to do for going forward. Solicitor Rice has suggested that of the
Yes.
2-year term, okay,
Yeah.
Denise, of the 2-year term, one of us be president for the first year, one be president for the second year. I,
What do you think?
Solomon splitting the baby.
What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's kind of a cop-out, to be perfectly honest, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not getting
Right.
you're not getting anywhere with this conversation. I mean,
We're not.
you're arguing, they're not buying it. They're, you know, they have their, and you guys aren't buying it, so. If it's that important, I mean, there's a way you can split the 2-year term.
And have them flip flop.
Yeah, you'd have to agree to do that. I mean, that way,
That's a cover.
you know, each gets to be the president for a year. I mean, most municipalities reorganize every year. Second-class townships reorganize every year. Home rule municipalities reorganize, so it's a 1-year term. That's not that unusual. I mean, it's a way to get, you know, moving things forward. You have another meeting that was scheduled an hour.
Yes.
What you're saying, John, is not allowed in all class 1 township though. Okay, our township says we reorganize every 2 years and we pick a president and a vice president. It doesn't say we can pick 2 presidents.
No, I'm saying that if you appoint somebody, that it's conditioned on that person, then they would have to step down as president. And then the second person would step up as the president. They would basically flip flop the second year.
We're all sitting here for another 2 years.
Yeah,
So
you got 2 years.
if you come to that,
Split it up.
I'm good with it.
I mean, if everybody's agrees to it, it's gonna be on the record, it's gonna be in the minutes. You know, it gets you beyond what's going on here. And you have other things to do.
That's what the code says. I knew John was saying this now, but I mean,
You would have to have faith that the person would sit there and switch out.
that's allowed. Then they could document.
No, we would have to have that in a legal paper. They would need to sign it. Okay, that one would take it the first year, one would take it the second year. It has to be drawn up by our council. They would have to sign it to agree to flip flop that second year. Okay, you just can't say, well, they'll agree to do it because one might say, no, I'm sitting here now, I'm not moving. Okay, and that's not what, and I don't think we can do this with our code, with being a class 1 township. I'm sorry, John, but like you said, there's other boroughs and municipalities that reorganize every year. We, as a code 1 township, we are obligated to reorganize every 2 years. Okay, and I don't think it should
Chuck,
be
you're
done.
100% correct on that. I agree with you. That's what the code says. But also in the first class township code, it says that president can step down anytime they need.
Yes.
I understand that,
We can have
Joe,
another
but
election.
that's, you're comparing apples to oranges. We're here tonight to pick a president and vice president of the board for 2 years. Okay, one position for 2 years, the other for 2 years, okay? That's what the code says. And John Royce, the council, his interpretation is just that, an interpretation, okay? That you want to live by, but we don't have to live by.
I'm not saying.
Oh, no, you said it. You
I'm
said
saying
it that.
could.
You said, Joe,
I
you said that you were
outright saying it
under that
could be your
obligation
term.
for that, okay?
No,
You-
no, no. I.
No, under his, what John Royce said last meeting and what he said this meeting, that Denise and Joe would remain.
Yeah, if we can't come to consensus.
Right.
That's my opinion based on what he said.
Because of legal counsel here, that's his opinion, okay, that's his
That's
interpretation.
the township solicitor's opinion
That's
that I'm
correct.
following as the vice president. Yes.
Well, in reorganization meetings, January 1st, everybody is neutral in the township, everybody is. The contracts, because usually it's the first Monday of January.
Which would have been January 5th of
January
this year.
5th,
per the
okay,
code,
right.
Yes.
Okay, and there's an agreement between the lapse of the 1st and the 5th that we go on with township business as usual, okay, until the reorganization meeting takes place. It didn't take place because we didn't have a quorum, okay, then we were here January 9th, and then we had a quorum, we had a full board here, and we couldn't, and we were at an impasse. Okay, this is why we convened tonight, and we're still here tonight, okay, under the code, we have to pick a president and a vice president. That's what we have to do here tonight. We can't have flip-flop going on. because the 2 years give you stability. If you flip-flop year to year to year, you don't have stability. He might come in with a different idea, Ruth might have the idea of going, and he wants to change everything because he's president now. And you can't do it under the code. You can't. You have to have a 2-year stability here.
So remember, the president only gets one vote to do anything.
You're right, John.
So
You're right.
no president can change anything without the rest of the board.
Without the rest of the board, right? You're right.
So it's not that much power. It's just administrative.
It's the same power as any member of this board, and we all get one vote.
So what is it?
You
We all get
vote.
one vote, right? No one person on this board can
Has
derail
more.
anything. No one person on this board can flip the table and say, we're not doing this, we're going a different direction.
And it doesn't matter if you have 12 days or 24 years.
No.
All the votes are the same.
Right.
Okay, yes, I agree with that.
That's not leadership stuff. That's just voting.
Yeah.
Leadership is a whole different story. I mean, I can't tell you how many boards I've been on over the years, and I've enjoyed each and every one of them in different ways. They've all been mainly not-for-profits. Actually, they've all been not-for-profits until I came here. But I did work in corporate America as well. I just feel that leadership requires presence.
With technology today, that presence can be from anywhere.
But it does not, you cannot develop relationships over Zoom.
No.
You just don't.
You can't be the one voice in a meeting full of people in the room and be effective. I do that every day. I work for a remote company. And it is hard being the one lone person on the phone when everyone else is trying to have a discussion, right? It's not easy. It's just not easy and it's not effective. So again, we are past qualifications. We know both Ruth and Dennis, highly qualified. We want them to be in this spot. We are trying to figure out what it is that separates them so that we can make a decision and say, yes, this is a reason why one of them needs to be in this spot so that we can move forward. So we can get past this, we can get on to township business, we get everybody in this, not just this room, but in this township on board and move forward. So that's why we're getting to this level. So I agree with you. I agree with you. The way that this township runs, we are here in this building doing work, right? At the firehouse, doing work, right? At the library, doing work. Right? I've attempted to join some of these remote because I work 5 days a week. It's a demanding job and it's challenging. And I've had to figure out ways to get in person because it just doesn't work. Right? Being this meeting remote is challenging enough. Right? And when I'm not leading, I'm just listening and trying to wait and have discussion. So yes, if this is an important point, and I think it's an important point for us to consider. And could be a point for us to consider. It doesn't take away from anything else we've discussed tonight. It doesn't take away from anything that these two people will do together to make this happen. But this, I think, is an important point for us to consider. It can certainly be an important point to consider.
Denise, what do you think? Honestly.
We're at an impasse.
No.
I mean,
Denise, Denise, do you
Particular
think
subject.
do you think you could be as effective as you were if you were here in person, meeting with people, doing these things? If you were on the phone all the time, like, would you?
I'm on the
got done
phone a
what you got
lot
done?
and on, in person a lot, so.
I'm not sure what the point is that you're making.
I mean,
You're assuming that I'm not available,
No, the
but
point,
I've never demonstrated that I am unavailable.
the point I'm trying to make is, we are, because we are at an impasse, right? I'm trying to figure out how we get consensus. I'm trying to figure out what it is about these two individuals that would allow us to actually say, you know what? That is a good reason to say that, to make this decision right now. Because what's happening is everyone's just dug their heels in, right? It's not offering anything new. No one's offering anything new. There's no new discussion. There's no new ideas. I'm trying to introduce new ideas, right? So this is a new idea. Is there reason to believe that the president should be as present as possible, in person, available to be in person? Do we think that that makes the president more effective to be able to be here when Chris needs that person, right? When EJ needs that person, when Scott needs that person, when anybody needs that person, when community events need that person, right? That's what I'm trying to say right now. I want us to figure out what it is that's gonna allow us to make a decision.
Sean, based on the track record that Dennis has demonstrated with community events and everything else, I believe this argument's invalid and it's a waste of time.
Go on, tell me,
What?
show me, what are you talking about? Can you clarify?
He has been at almost every single event or numerous events throughout the course of the year.
Okay.
And attended those. So community involvement just as much as anybody else. Regarding availability, the solicitor's meeting's always there. He's in person as much as almost any other commissioner here. I can tell you, I've been remote a couple times this year. I have business as well. I travel. Again, not a hindrance on the operations whatsoever. And when it comes down to it, with the technology we have today, I believe this argument's completely invalid.
Okay, then what I would like is for someone to offer up a new argument. Because right now, no one's doing it. No one's even trying to figure out how we get past this. That's really frustrating. It's very frustrating. And I feel for everyone in this audience, and I feel for everyone in future audiences who's gonna have to deal with this as we continue to talk about this. So please, I implore you, please help me understand what separates the two and why we need to vote for one over the other.
Again, I'm gonna go back to my initial argument with Dennis being more articulate. And again, having better negotiation tactics and skills due to his corporate background that he's still activating right now.
What is that? What's that about the president and the vice president? Why is the president that?
Because we negotiate all the time in our positions
Okay,
with developers, with community organizations,
Gotcha.
everything. And I believe that's a vital skill to have.
okay.
I believe Dennis is better suited for that.
Okay.
That's my view.
He's a better negotiator. That doesn't make him more qualified to be our president.
I have to tell you that I have frequently played the devil's advocate when we have development meetings. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I was actually deliberately playing the devil.
I watch meetings and I hear you, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you are good. I just feel when it comes to that, he's got a little bit more of an edge. And that's my opinion.
That's fine.
Ruth, you know you're my friend, you know I love you, but when it comes to it right now, you guys all know what my decision is. I'm not changing right now. The arguments that have been presented before me this evening haven't swayed my opinion, and I know the arguments that I present haven't swayed your opinion. We are at an impasse right now. I don't see how we're gonna compromise on this right now. We had an initial understanding which fell apart, and I'm sorry that did. I thought that was the right solution, and I thought we were all on board with it, but we're past that right now.
Let's be clear. This initial discussion and deal that has been referenced, there was no initial deal. There's been multiple deals that happened,
Mhm.
right? Multiple discussions about different people. And for the record, people on this board were against those ideas, right? There was initial idea, right? I approached Dennis, I talked to him about he and I working on this board. And he expressed his design, his reservations with me in that position, okay? So this deal that you keep referencing was not because there was no deal. We never decided to do that. And then this deal that you talked about in the 11th hour before a meeting, that was between Ruth and Denise. So if you want to talk about deals that are
Well,
happening.
obviously, there was no
we were
deal there either.
Well, exactly. So there was no deal coming into this. But you're saying that to suggest that I have somehow gone back on something that we all agreed on. There
No,
was
I'm
no
saying-
consensus coming into it, right? We attempted to get there.
We
And
did,
there were reservations.
and we
and
still
there
have
were
been,
changes.
and we haven't been able to get there.
Right, but right now you're giving up.
I'm not giving up.
You just said, we are in impasse, there's nothing we can do.
No, I'm saying there's been no argument presented so far that has swayed my opinion in one direction or the other.
Okay, so try to swing mine, please.
I have, and it seems like I can't do that, so try to sway mine. Same comment right there.
I am trying
And
to.
it-
That's why I asked about travel. That's why I asked about presence. Right? I am trying to get us to consensus.
As was I, but we haven't reached that yet. So I'm not sure where we move forward. And what avenue we go. We've had them both speak. We've all given our opinions. Right now, we're deadlocked.
Commissioner Curtis, I would love to hear your opinion again. I'm not sure I completely understood what you're saying.
What opinion would you like with?
Why you're picking Commissioner Mueller over me.
You know, I think Commissioner Mueller, I already expressed it. I think he's articulate.
Mhm.
I think he speaks well. I mean, just look at tonight. He presents himself well. He knows how to, you know, talk to people in the crowd. He knows, he's very well spoken. He's very articulate. I mean, just everything we have to be faced with
Well,
on a
and you
monthly
feel that
basis.
the most important thing.
There's a lot. I told you, our monthly meetings, from the first few, he hit the ground running. The Community Development Committee, it's one of the hardest committees. He runs it seamlessly.
You mean the planning?
The Planning Commission and the Community Development. It's, as long as I've been on the board, people always have a hard, every commissioner had a hard time with that committee. I was on that committee. Dennis, runs that committee seamlessly. It's one of the hardest committees that any commissioner would ever have an opportunity to handle. He's a very bright man. He really is. I have a lot of confidence in him. I have a lot of confidence in him. Not that I don't have confidence in you, Ruth. He is very articulate in the way he handles himself. He
I have
really
to tell
is.
you that I think that there's some
No.
inherent bias towards males involved in viewing Dennis as a better candidate than myself. I have to tell you that I think, I've noticed in the past, Denise, that you have gravitated towards males' opinions.
Not really. I mean, he's responsive to residents. I've seen him be responsive to residents. That absolutely is not true.
Really? Because you were in love with Rod. You.
Oh, my God.
No, I don't mean in love. I mean, you felt that he was the best thing since sliced bread. You did. And then there was Dr. Serkin, best thing since sliced bread. Joe, best thing since sliced bread.
Mike, just get a slice bread.
Yeah, me, bring out the loaf of bread.
I'm chocolate.
Oh, that's not true. I have a very high regard for you.
I don't, yeah, I don't feel it.
Yeah. You and I spoke privately about, we're good people, but we are not as articulate. Look, Dennis and I spoke about it. I'm not as articulate as Dennis. I can be honest. I mean, about, my communication skills. Dennis reminds me of my husband. My husband's an attorney. My husband has far better communication skills than I do and how to run a meeting and whatnot. I try really hard. I rehearse and, I prepare a lot.
That's exactly what I intend to do. as well.
But I feel that, Dennis would be excellent. I really do. But I do feel that I'm a really good leader. And I feel that I do a decent job for the township and I'm very good with residents and I'm good at problem solving and working with all the staff and the different departments. And I've seen Dennis do that too. He's at Public Works and
Sorry,
he
you've
works in
seen me do
different
that
departments
too.
and I've seen you also do that, have those different skill sets. So everybody has different gifts and talents, like I said, to bring to the table. So, and I look forward to, helping each other. We all help each other, learn and grow. Look forward to that as we continue as a board. Working together. I mean, we just keep going round and round and, we're all getting tired as we move forward. So, I mean, it's been really, we've been here for over 2 hours, just discussing and discussing. And,
We owe it to the public to do so. That's our obligation.
Without
we sure do. We do. We absolutely do.
It would seem as if we need another 5-minute recess to recollect ourselves.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
All right, 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm gonna-
All right, well,
Okay.
Let's
Take
do
a
it.
5-minute reset.
It's not color, but
$8:25, we're gonna reconvene the reorganization meeting. Okay. Commissioner Miller? You,
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's any more
is there any
conversation that.
any more, I mean, a comment from our?
I mean, we haven't decided, so I think we owe it to the public and to ourselves to continue to discuss. Try to figure out a way to get through this.
Yeah, the other option is that, you know, we have an opinion from Solicitor Rice. No, you disagree with that opinion. And I know that, you know, you indicated that you feel that a judge would decide, but that's not Solicitor Rice's opinion. So Solicitor Rice has issued a memo to all those outlining what he believes is the resolution where we found a reach consensus. That is that if the motion doesn't pass, then the existing president and vice president, provided they're still in office, that they continue. That's Solicitor Rice's opinion. He is our current township solicitor. Quite frankly, for the one that's most qualified, I think is John, because he's the only attorney out of all us who's interpreting the first class township code. So if we fail to reach consensus, John has given an opinion. What happens next? That is that we continue to try to work this out after tonight, but in the meantime, the current president and vice president stay.
I believe it puts us at a lot of risk. Because John, maybe the solicitor gave us that opinion, but like to think that we haven't tried to get, that I just like am relying on my own interpretation of this code and the laws of it. I've tried to seek out legal counsel to understand and get multiple perspectives on this. And the perspectives that I have heard are different. They're different. If we continue on here, if we can't reorganize, then we are at risk of having a judge compel us to do so. This will go to court. That is the process. Because the fundamental process of government.
You don't know that.
It says it in the code. It is clear as day that we have 10 days to reorganize, after which a contingency of voters can compel a judge to weigh in, to force us to provide a reason as to why we can't reorganize. And then a judge weighs in on that, and a judge makes the call. And the judge feels like we cannot make consensus, and yet we should. If they don't buy our argument, then it's within their right to remove us from these positions and to choose people who will. Because reorganization is a fundamental component of government. We have to find someone to lead this group because that person signs the motions. That person signs everything. The township cannot run without that. And we can't let that happen. That's what the code says. The language is clear. It is concise and it is clear. And John's opinion is his opinion, but I've gotten other opinions as well. And I don't want to put the township at risk by just assuming that we can just carry on forward and just allow for us, because listen to this, what happens if next month we sit down and we say, all right, should we talk about this for an hour? And we say 3-3, 3-3, 3-3. Let's just continue on. And then March comes and we say, oh, well, 3-3. Let's just keep saying 3-3. Why? Because Denise and Joe are in president. And then April, and then May, and then it's December, and then it's the next year. And we have not reorganized. We have failed our obligation, and yet we are acting as if we have the president and vice president. Then what happens 2 years from now and 4 years from now, right? It's a slippery slope, and it's why it is clear in the code. We cannot allow that to happen. These are fundamental principles of how our government works. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow that to happen. That is not right. That is a principle that I will stand up for, and I will not allow us to just hold through.
So, Solicitor Rice, have you received any other opinions on this matter? Sean is referencing that he's seeked outside counsel and he's gotten some advice. Have we received anything officially that shows how this?
No phone
Very
calls.
briefly outline in case so everyone's familiar, because John has a different opinion and he's the only lawyer in the room.
I
understand what you're
I
saying.
keep saying that. There's a lawyer opinion. and a
You're
legal
reading it differently than what our solicitor.
It's not my interpretation. I am also acting off of legal advice, the same quality legal advice.
We only have one memo now that outlines how we proceed, and that is the one from the solicitor. If you have other legal advice, then John doesn't have it. So right now, what we have is one memo that outlines how we proceed, and that is from the solicitor.
So Dennis, are you suggesting that we get a memo and send it to John Rice?
I'm suggesting that the only thing that we have to go on right now is our solicitor's opinion. And and he has issued an opinion on how we should proceed right now. And he's the township solicitor. So to me, his opinion matters.
So
that's the only.
If
thing
we
that
were
I
to
have look
get,
at.
if we were to get another opinion that outlined why we are putting ourselves at risk by doing so, would that change your mind?
We
I
have
think we
to
have to
read
see
it.
what it says, but our solicitor is giving us.
What if it says what I said?
Well, the question,
What if I said what I said? Because I'm not making it up. This isn't me reading the website and saying, oh yeah, this has to be what it is. Okay, sure. You haven't read the memo, but if we had that memo, would you change your mind?
Sean, there's three sides to every story. We have to go
That's
with
what I
what's
just-
in front of us. We have to go with what's in front of us. And that's the only thing we can go with right now from our solicitor.
That doesn't make any sense.
I have
Hold on,
no
we
other
need to go
information.
with reality too, and the reality is, we're not going to agree.
The reality is
For
we
you
haven't
guys
had,
to continue as
Yeah.
president and vice president.
well, that's your opinion, Ruth.
No, we are not going to agree to it.
And that's
Which
perfectly fine,
means
that's
you
your
won't
opinion.
have a quota, you won't have meetings, you won't be able to move the township
Yeah.
forward.
So you're gonna
We will
obstruct the
have-
township business because of your interpretation of it not going with the solicitor.
I will not allow for the two of you to continue on in this position without being voted on. If we vote for the two of you, wonderful. I would love to find consensus on this
You
issue.
wanna nominate me?
But right now, we are in a position where nobody will move. Right? And I believe that part of the reason why nobody will move is because there is a perceived perception that by indecision, we default back to where we were. Right?
That
we
is
default
the
back.
opinion of.
That is the opinion of a solicitor. Yeah.
Our solicitor.
Our solicitor, yes, although as we have already tried to say, we have not appointed our solicitor. So we have a legal perspective on this. Okay, you keep throwing out opinion, it's an opinion, an informed opinion, yes, I understand, this is his career. I believe him. I believe him, that he believes that is true.
Mhm.
And I also believe other lawyers who have said the opposite, who have said different things.
But Sean.
And then I read
we
it
have
and I applied my
information.
own critical thinking to it. And the statute's clear. Have you read the code?
Yes.
Do you know the section number? Do you know the section?
703B, I believe. I can't tell you. I'm a little fuzzy tonight, as
I
I told
understand.
you, but pretty close, huh?
Okay, so all we're doing is throwing around opinions, but opinions don't matter when this goes to court, and we do not want that to happen.
The only opinion that matters tonight is the one with the law degree.
No,
And
the opinion that matters is the six of us deciding who we think should be president. That is the opinion that matters.
Now,
I disagree with you. I
It's
think
the
we need to
township.
rely upon the township solicitor to take his advice. He is our legal professional.
Yeah. Well, and to be frank, his advice was figure it out. I mean, that was his ultimate advice. His
No.
advice was not to move forward with the two of you in these positions until such time that we may figure it out. He said,
he was
get to
just-
consensus.
He advised us that consensus is best, but if we cannot do that, then we would continue in our positions. That's what he said. Right?
Yeah, yes, I understand. But that doesn't just make it law, and that does not make it happen. And Ruth is right. Because I'm not, do you understand that if we don't vote for this, then we just assume that that is the case? Then you might as well be president, vice president for the rest of your lives.
No, Sean, because in 4 years or in 2 years, you're up for election, right?
Yes.
Say you don't win. Say somebody else takes that seat. Say somebody else likes Chuck. And we all agree Chuck's the best candidate in 2 years. And we all come to consensus. Then Chuck would become president.
So you're saying in 2 years, we have to reorganize again?
yes, every 2
Every
years.
2 years.
Okay, so we have not yet reorganized. And what precedent you are attempting to set is that reorganization doesn't matter. You are trying to suggest right now that if a board cannot find consensus, then the backup is to just keep moving on us forward. Okay, think about every branch of government. Do you think that is okay? Should we do that for the president? Should we do that for Congress?
That's not exactly.
Should we do
what
that
it
for
says.
state reps? These are fundamental principles of government. That is why
Sean,
we
read the
have to
code.
find
Do
it.
you have the code in front of you?
I will pick up the code. Give me a chance to find it.
I think
John
that-
has has third or.
I can read it if you like. I don't care.
It's honor.
Guys, it doesn't matter what the code says.
Right.
It really doesn't, because the effective attitude that we have right now is if we do not elect a president and vice president, we do not move forward. So the code is the code.
That is your opinion.
No, that
Yes.
is what I'm telling you. is
The
going to
opinion
happen.
of the
Throwing out that word as if
The
Ruth's perspective
the
or my
next
perspective
meeting-
doesn't matter.
It does matter. It absolutely
Then
matters.
stop talking down to Ruth and telling her that her opinion doesn't matter.
Talking
That
down
is
to
just
Ruth.
an opinion. She is talking, she's trying to explain the
That's her
ramifications of what
opinion.
happens.
And it's your opinion. It's different than my opinion. We all have opinions. I'm not dismissing her at all. But what I'm saying is, I'm going back to what our solicitor said, the one with the law degree, and basing my opinion on what he's providing me as factual information of the law.
But we're at an impasse right now,
All right,
okay? So if we're at an impasse, you have three that agree, three that disagree, okay? So that's where we're at right now. That was John Joyce's interpretation that night, January 9th. He even said that that was his interpretation.
I agree.
At time, we went out and looked at other opinions, talked to other solicitors, and they say, no, that's not how it's interpreted. Okay?
Sure, I appreciate
And
that.
you
I
know
wish
what
you
you're
would've
saying,
provided
he's our
that to
legal
us.
counsel, okay?
Yes.
Right, but we don't agree with that. Okay, so we're at an impasse. And like Ruth said, without us, there is no Board of Commissioners.
So again, you're saying that if we don't come to resolution on this right now,
Well, it's
We're not
not doing
doing
discussion,
No.
Joe.
We can
We're
come
not
to
saying it.
resolution. We can vote for a president. What you're saying is, we will not allow for a president, vice president to sit that has not been voted for. That is a principle of this government, and we will not allow that. That is not fair. It's not fair to these people out here. It's not right.
and Sean, what I'm saying is, I wish if you had additional information, which would have contradicted what the solicitor stated,
Okay,
then you would have provided it to the whole board, so you
I-
all could have been able to interpret that information and make a rational informed
okay,
decision.
and I'm providing it to you right now. I'm providing to you right now.
No, you're providing me your opinion, not a written statement by an attorney. You're providing me your interpretation of what you were told, which is
Which
just
what?
that.
But
What you were
don't
told,
you-
Right,
not
which
that-
is what I was told by John. It's
You were
you're
told.
trying to make
John.
this a
Wait,
false
wait,
equivalency.
you were,
No, stop.
I'm trying to.
What I am saying- Yeah, what I'm saying is, what you were trying to argue is that a solicitor that I spoke to, when I was seeking a second opinion on this, that opinion doesn't matter because you didn't read it. Right? What I am saying is that.
I'm
that
saying I wish you would have
perspective-
provided that, so we all could have gained that perspective. That's what I'm saying.
And what I am saying right now is that is what I'm doing. I am providing that to you in this moment.
Sure, you're missing what I'm saying, Sean. I'm saying you're taking what you were told and then re-putting it out. It's
Okay,
not
so-
coming direct from the source.
So you're saying you don't believe me, or you think that perhaps I am twisting words?
No, I think when we all have conversations, we can have different takeaways of what somebody's saying. If I talk to Bill right now and you're listening to the conversation, you might have a slightly different opinion of what was
You can't
said.
say that, Joe.
You can.
You guys just did it an hour
You
ago.
can't say
Didn't
that.
understand each other.
We're here for the reorganization meeting, okay? We're at an impasse,
Well,
okay? And we don't agree with Solicitor Weiss' interpretation of the Code 1 Township law, okay? Because there's other paragraphs underneath that also interprets what can be done and what can't be done. So we're at an impasse right now. We're keeping all these people here and nothing's being done. You're going back and forth with different opinions, and opinions don't matter. Okay, we're here, we voted, okay, it's 3-3. Okay, Dennis gave his reasons, Ruth gave her reasons, and we're still at an impasse. We're not gonna get nothing done here tonight. We're not gonna get it done.
so
Can I reiterate that my opinion is it does not matter what the code says? Because we are not going to allow township business to go forward until we elect the president and vice president.
can you say that
Well,
one more
it
time?
absolutely matters what the code says.
Why?
Why? Because it's the law.
It's the governance that we use to follow how we conduct our
But if you
meetings.
don't have a quorum, you can't conduct a meeting.
No,
And
it's
you
true.
will not have a quorum if we don't elect a president and vice president. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
Would you like me to read the section? At the consequences of what happens if we fail to reorganize. Okay, Article 7, Township Commissioners, Section 701. This is organization, failure to organize. All right, subsection C says, if the Board of Commissioners of a township fails to organize within 10 days from the time prescribed by this section, which says in the first section A, that we have 10 days from the first Monday of January. Okay, it says if we fail to reorganize within 10 days from the time prescribed, the Court of Common Pleas, upon the petition of at least 10 registered electors, verified by the affidavit of one of the petitioners, shall issue a rule upon the delinquent commissioners to show cause why their seat should not be declared vacant. The rule shall be returnable not less than 5 days from the time of its issue, and after hearing, the court may declare the seats of its members of the board responsible for the failure to organize vacant and shall appoint others in their place to hold office for their respective unexpired terms. That is what it says, verbatim, section 701, failure to organize, clause C. That is what's at stake.
What's
What is that?
703B?
So Solicitor Rice, can you comment on that, please?
Yes.
And the meaning and what the scope of that standard is covering?
There is no 703.
We're talking about 701 of the First Class Township Code. It's called organization failure to organize. There's basically 3 or 4 paragraphs here. The first one says, and this is in my memo that was already sent to the full board. The first paragraph A says that the board has to organize the first Monday of January of each even numbered year. So that was January 5th. The board met, advertised meeting met, only 3 commissioners were here. So there was no quorum. Chuck hadn't been certified yet, so he couldn't be here. Second part says at the organization, this is B. I'll get the short Sean read. So you gotta read the whole thing. B says at the organization meeting, the board shall elect 1 member as president and 1 as vice president who, as long as they continue to be commissioners, shall hold office until their successors are elected and qualified. Okay? So that means to me, 2 years ago, when they were appointed president and vice president, they're in office as long as they're commissioners. They were both reelected. They're in office until their successors are elected and qualified at a reorganization meeting. If there's a impasse, 3-3, they stay. So
Yeah.
the organization has happened.
It has,
Denise is the president and Joe's the vice president based on the impasse.
and that exactly the major disagreement is, because it says at the organization meeting, I'll read the same exact words, I'll just emphasize it's different, right? The organization meeting, the board shall elect 1 member as president and 1 as vice president. Those 2 people who are elected shall serve as long as they continue to be commissioners and hold office until their successors are elected and qualified, which happens 2 years later when we reorganize. And the language of this speaks to our ability to vote for someone in right now, and they will continue to hold that office, right? So we can't decide a couple months from now, you know what? We don't like this person as president, so we're gonna put a motion out there and say, we don't want them to be president anymore. It protects them, right? For reasons we cited earlier, stability, right? There needs to be stability. Our government also functions on stability. We cannot have fast moving and just a majority say, we don't like the person, so we're gonna remove.
But Sean, as you stated in 701B, it clearly states that who, as long as they continue to be commissioners, shall hold office until their successors are elected and qualified.
Right, their
We have
successors,
failed to elect.
Yeah, the successors.
not other people for their position. Successors in terms of the next president and vice president. This is all about organization. This is not about elections.
Let me just say.
That's what I'm saying. We're trying to conflate these 2 ideas. Just
Well,
suggest that for
There's a
some
lot of
reason.
conflating going on, but let me just say one thing. There's a lot of provisions in this code, such as the vacancy board chairman and the borough code, the township code, where there's a fail-safe. People stay in office for whatever reason because of what's happened in here. Sometimes people die. There's things that happen. So unless it says you're out of office, you stay in office. And this, the way I read it, and I know there's disagreement, 3 of you, I'd love to see a written opinion. I've been going to these meetings for 40 years, Sean, and I don't know how many times people have stood up and said, well, I've spoken to the assistant DA in Norristown and he disagrees with you, Mr. Rice. My answer always, let me call him, let me get on the phone with him, or send me what he wrote to you. I've yet to get that, and I didn't get it here, so I don't know who you're talking to. You should talk to other attorneys. I mean, there's plenty of good municipal solicitors. But that's my opinion. I'm the only one with a law degree sitting here. And I have clients ignore my legal advice over the years more than a few times, and then they do what they want to do. You know, so I think this is a fail-safe. It's not unusual for the first class code. It's in other codes.
Yeah.
And secondly, the C that you read,
That's the fail-safe. That's the fail-safe, right there. It's very clear.
Yeah,
So let Solicitor Rice.
it's a fail-safe if there's delinquent commissioners, who are preventing the business of the township going forward. Now, if you,
You're now embellishing this language. The people out here can't see what you're reading, so they can't check against this. Please read it verbatim.
You read it.
Please read it verbatim, because this is in a section about organization. It's not about people getting elected or not. It's not about other business. It's about the failure to organize.
But you organized tonight because you now have a president and vice president and you made all the other appointments.
We don't have a vice president. We have not organized. You keep saying that as if it's true. We have not organized. That's why it's still, but we're still talking about this.
Okay.
We've made many motions and they have
Let me
failed.
say one other thing about C that you read. There's also a provision in the Pennsylvania State Constitution that says how you remove elected officials from their office. And there used to be and I don't want to get into it, but this is not the way. This would probably be struck down if anybody tried to pursue this. It hasn't been struck down. It's still in the books. But there's a similar provision in the second class code. It's been struck down. Ruth has a couple court cases regarding why these provisions get struck down. I mean, it's possible that there could be an action brought by somebody to try to remove commissioners, but that constitutional provision, Article 6, Section 7, for all you lawyers in the room who want to look at it, the Pennsylvania Constitution talks about how you can remove officers, and it's by impeachment by the state legislature and the governor. So oh my God, this is going to happen. Somebody could file a lawsuit. People can file a lawsuit for any reason. It's happened here, with no basis, file a lawsuit. But whether it would be successful and hold up on appeal, doubtful, very, very doubtful.
Well, that's for the nuclear option.
Yeah.
That's for,
Well, Sean is.
I'm concerned about putting the township at risk for that. And I'm concerned about, again, I don't even have to read the code to say it is illogical to think that just because a group who is obligated to decide and does organize, that it just falls back to something else. Because that's just having a king. That's just having an instilled leader. That's not what we're here to do. This is a democratic government. Like, that's how our system of government works. So it's ludicrous to think that we could just fall back on who was there before. It just doesn't make any sense. And then if we agree that this is in fact interpretation, so what does happen if Denise decides not to run and Joe decides to run and we have too many people in and then we can't agree? Then what? Then there's no more people who have been here before. Then what do we do? Right? If we're relying on this, if we think that is the fail-safe, then we're working ourselves back into a corner.
Well,
that is a bad corner to be in.
it's.
And it is simply because we're just sitting here and we think that this is our way out. We think this is our way out. So we're not actually making a hard decision. Nobody is trying to compromise because you think that this is our way out. It's not our way out. This is a bad path for us to follow. It puts everything at risk. Everything we're trying to do is at risk. And this is the route we take forward. And we cannot use this as our safety because it's not it. It's right there and it's not it. And I'm sorry if I'm getting heated, but this is very important. This is everything that we do is based on.
For the president and the vice president, we propose motions to do it, and the motion doesn't pass. So to me, that's no different than any other motion. The motion doesn't pass, then it stays as status quo.
There is no status quo right now. Is there is no president. That's the problem.
That's your
But that's
interpretation.
not Solicitor Rice's interpretation of this.
John, there is a Supreme Court ruling on this. You realize that?
What is
What's
the name of it?
Failure, it's the township, the Pennsylvania Gross Township Code, okay? What I'm reading here, to remove power limitation, recent litigation, Act 52 of 2015, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled, okay? That's there. It's all in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which is Supreme Court that it talks about failing to reorganize, okay? there's impasse language in here and everything, and, it's highly unlikely. Yes, it can go in front of a judge, it states here. It's highly unlikely that a judge would remove us from our position. And the judge can make the decision.
No, I agree with you.
Okay, it's there, okay, so we're at an impasse tonight, okay? So why can't we, as township commissioners, get a mediator or an outside mediator to come in and decide on who our president and vice president of the Board of Commissioners are? And hearing our reasons why we want Ruth as a president and why we want Dennis as vice president. It's the Supreme Court ruling here, okay?
That has nothing to do with this, Chuck.
Sure it does. It tells you, it explains failure to reorganize here.
That case, if I remember correctly, is it called Reese? REESE? You know, there was another provision in the first class code that was filed under about failure to perform.
This is recent legislation Act 52 of 2015. The General Assembly amended the first class township code to align with Supreme Court rulings.
It eliminated a different provision that let citizens try to remove an elected official for failing to perform their job duty.
And what?
Not for this.
Well, it outlines their job duties, okay?
Right, but it's a different provision in the code, and when that Supreme Court case came down, the legislature took that provision out of the first class code. They did the same thing with the second class code. I'm familiar with it. And they did it based on the Article 6, Section 7 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So it's unlikely that, and Sean, you're worried about it because you gave a 5-minute speech on the dangers of this. And I'm just saying that what Chuck just read, that Act of 2015.
Sean is saying, he doesn't agree with
I'm
you.
not worried about
Right.
getting yanked at the seat. What I'm worried about is the turmoil that this township goes through in pursuit of that. Whatever that judge ultimately determines, whatever the ultimate decision is, right? We're talking months and months. We're talking money. This is tax dollar money that's gonna have to pay for this, right? It's gonna have to pay for somebody to defend. It's gonna have to pay for someone to go on the other side of this. It's time wasted. And we have important business to do. And I think that is why this is so important. That's why we have to understand this completely, right? I do not and will not put the township at risk at this and put everything that we've been working on at risk. Because there is members of this board who think that this is a failsafe, who think that we don't have to organize because we can just move forward as is. That is dangerous. It is dangerous to do that. That is, and it is not right. And if you think that that is our path forward, that is being disingenuous to the process. Not participating in the process. If you say, whatever, we can't figure it out, we'll just keep doing the way it is. Maybe we'll try next month. Right? That is disingenuous to the process. And I'm not going to stand for it. I don't think that's right. Right? I got elected to support this township and I will support it. And I will support it through this process. Wherever we land on this, we have to land on it. And landing on it is not this path that we're talking about right now. It just isn't.
Again, so only person
If I can
said,
just make a comment, Joe. I mean, Sean, you're using words like dangerous and placing the township at risk, and you're choosing a lot of words that are suggestive of something that's greater. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, John has an opinion, and you can say, hey, maybe it goes to a court, but John is our solicitor. He's given an opinion on what the code and what the remedy is for failing to come to consensus. And he's given us that memo. We've all seen it. That's the only thing that we have now to go by. Now, if there's other information that you have, I think would be helpful for John to have it, and maybe we recess and you can get that information to John and he can give us an interpretation of it. And we can decide, is this really an option or is it not? But when you use words like dangerous and placing the township at risk and tax dollars that are being, I'm not so sure that that's really even the case at this point. We have an opinion on how to proceed, and John has given that opinion. You disagree, some of us disagree with that, some of us agree. I think the next step is that, if there's other opinions out there, John should have the ability to be able to review them, and so should each of us, so we can decide how best to move forward, if that is really a remedy. But what John has explained, failure to reach consensus, that is the remedy. Not that we're going to court. Now, maybe that we decide that because there's a different of opinion. But John has given his opinion on it, and that's the only opinion that we have to go by at this point in time. I know, I'm not saying that you're lying or you didn't get something, but right now, the only thing that we have in front of us is John's memo that outlines what his interpretation of those sections that you referenced and what they mean.
I think we can all think critically about this. I think it's a cop out to just point to that and say, I'm not gonna do anything because John said that it's okay. I think that's a cop out.
That's what we're saying.
It is what you're saying right now.
I'm
You're saying,
that
let's punt this issue because we have an opinion on this. And that's gonna protect us, and I'm not, and we're just gonna move forward as it. And I think that's a cop out. I really, really do. Right, what I think is dangerous is the precedent set. Right, setting the precedent that this is our solution, that is dangerous. Precedent is dangerous when it's used incorrectly, and that is what I'm standing up for right now. That is what I'm standing up for. We have an obligation to reorganize. We have to come to consensus. And what is happening right now is people are saying, we don't have to. We don't have to, because we have this other option that we can choose. And you guys are choosing that option instead of choosing to work to try to figure out how to get through this.
You can't come to a consensus. It's obvious to me.
The reason why we can't come to consensus is because half this board thinks that this is our option. That's what they're voting on. That is what they're deciding.
Is listening to our solicitor and his opinion.
Right.
Half of it is started outside county.
That's what I'm saying.
Not our township solicitor. That's
Do you
what
think
you're
this
saying.
do you think this is a good idea? You think it's a good idea to allow for this union to stay forward if we can't vote for this?
I believe by reading this myself, listening to what our solicitor has has stated, he is correct. I believe he is
Okay,
correct.
And that's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. You're saying he is correct. You're saying that our option is that we don't have to vote for this. We can choose not to. And instead, we can just allow for the next.
We have.
We didn't start out.
No, okay, let me clarify my language. What you're saying is you're choosing to fail to organize. You're saying
No,
we can fail to
that's-
organize.
Saying, Sean, saying we've had the votes, we've made motions, we've tried to attempt to elect a new president, new vice president
Right.
multiple times.
And we have
It's
so
failed.
far failed.
It has failed. We're both in agreement on that. What I'm saying is because it has failed and we have not found a new qualified elected president and vice president, per what's stated right there in the code, which I believe to be law, as our solicitor is stating law, then Denise would be the default president, I would be the default VP. That's what it says. That's what I have to go by. That's his opinion.
Yeah, it's not what it says. It is his opinion. And that is exactly what I'm saying. You are choosing to fail. You are saying, we have failed, period. We're done. We're done doing it. We're gonna move on with this. You are choosing to fail, and that you cannot allow.
It's a guide for commissioners to go by. It's
Not
a
a
guide. It's one code, it's a guide, John. It's a law. And it's a law that can be interpreted though, Dennis.
Not a-
Okay. It's a law that can be interpreted, okay? And it's
You
just
judge.
by
Exactly.
a judge.
Correct.
Good.
We don't
Not
want
by
to
you.
do it.
No, you're
Don't
you're
want
right.
to
The same thing that he's saying, and it's enough.
All right, order, please.
Settle down.
Everyone,
It's
maintain order, okay,
I'm yelling.
okay, let's have order.
Yes, I need to heat, and I apologize. All right, I should be in better control of my emotions, but this is important. Okay, because this is fundamental. This is not a disagreement on emotion. This is not a disagreement on how we're gonna handle a certain issue. This is fundamental. It's fundamental, and I'm appalled that we feel like we can just allow for this to happen. I'm appalled. I think that is, again, disingenuous to the process. To say that we can choose to fail. We can allow that to happen. Cannot. It is our obligation to reorganize.
It's now 9 o'clock. We have been deliberating back and forth for 3 hours about reorganization. At this point in time,
At this point in time, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Whoa, you know, second, you know.
Second, it's gonna be.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Continue.
We should.
Aye.
Do you want to continue?
Motion failed. Let's continue.
We did that all for us.
No. Yes, it was.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, everyone here on this board wants to do the right thing. The right thing for the township. I honestly believe we all want to do what's right. I think how we go about it has always been a little bit different. Right? We've all had different styles, we've all had different ways of interpreting things. We've all had different ideas about what the best path forward is. Today, we need to decide who is going to be president and who's going to be vice president. And I'm telling you right now, this is one that I'm not giving in on. And it's not ego. It's not something I ever thought about. I was the person that my two cohorts over there have decided the person to be president. And I have to take their position seriously because they're quality gentlemen. Now, not that you guys aren't, but I think it's time for one of you to say, we gotta move,
Why?
because otherwise we don't move forward.
So no matter what we say, no matter what we do, you're the best person for it. We can't come to a resolution. Any other option, correct?
Isn't that what Dennis is saying also?
No, you're the one who just said that. He hasn't answered that question.
I didn't say that exactly. What I did say was, I am not changing my mind about trying to be president.
And I appreciate that. But with that being said, when I just asked you that question, you nodded and indicated that's where we're at right now. And
You know
I
what?
love you, I don't wanna fight with you on this,
No.
but I believe we're at an impasse at this time. That's why I moved to make a motion to adjourn and pick this up at a later time.
Mhm.
I don't believe we're gonna have resolution tonight. I know you're dead set in your position. I know these gentlemen right here are dead set in their position to support you. As are we to support Dennis right now. I believe this effort is futile. I would like to proceed with the regular meeting to get the township business done tonight, and that's what I would like to do. Well, you can, Chuck, believe that Denise isn't the sitting president, despite what our solicitor
But this
said.
is what the whole argument's about, Joe.
I hear
This
you.
is what the whole
But
argument's
can we
about.
pick
You can't
one?
proceed
No.
the township business
Yeah.
until we come up with an agreement here. This is why it's called a reorganization meeting,
Oh,
okay?
let's face it, you have a witch hunt against me.
And
let's have a-
That's how you get
About-
it. How you get it
about-
So it's
Yeah,
you like Denise.
Okay, let's
Have it simple.
let's please restate the facts that we've
Okay.
talked about tonight. We have talked about tonight
You're out
that
of
both
line.
Ruth and Dennis are highly qualified for these roles. We want both Ruth and Dennis to be in these roles. We want them to work together. We want them to lead us through the hard work that we have for the next 2 years. Okay, that is what we have discussed. All right, so there is nothing personal. There's no qualification. We have attempted to try to figure out what separates the two. And I will restate
We're
again,
not
while
gonna
they
solve
both,
this tonight.
we
We're
can
just not,
if we
and I'd
try.
like to.
If we give up.
We're not gonna solve it tonight. We've been on this for 3
Okay,
hours.
there is, both have
And
experience,
I'd
there's
love
one
to
thing that
try. I'm a
separates them.
peacemaker. I'd love to
Ruth
try
has
another
6 years
time.
of experience and lots of proven work that she has gotten done. And Dennis has too,
Time in the
for
city
that
doesn't
alone,
matter.
right? Good experience, they both have experience, and they both have good experience. Ruth has more. So if we need to break this tie, if we believe that both these two people will do a good job and work together well, and we have to just figure this out, then we can rely on the fact that Ruth's tenure here and the amount of work that she's done over the amount of years she's had just gives her the slightest upper edge to say, let's put her in that position.
And I don't agree with you on that. I think the time has no matter whatsoever. Otherwise, I'd be going with Denise with 24 years sitting here. And her vast amount of experience.
We're talking about these two people and what separates the two of them. We're not talking about broad experience and the group. We can open the group up that. We not spent 3 hours trying to talk about why every single one of us is qualified. Do you want to make an argument for Denise right now and try to like change what we've been discussing so far? If you want to, fine, let's do it. That's what we're here to do. We have to talk about this stuff.
Sean,
Okay.
we're going back and forth, we're down to two people.
You're
I agree
right,
with
you're
you.
right, and I'm trying to look at both of you guys, I'm trying to look at all you guys and say, the thing that separates these two, aside from all of the incredible qualifications that we have put out here for the last 3 hours. And that Ruth has been here for longer, and she's been doing this for longer, and that gives her an advantage that we need to, it might be slight, but it's enough.
So Dennis has been on the on the solicitors meetings for the last 2 years, setting an agenda, which Ruth never has. So therefore, I can make the same argument saying he has more experience because he's been there for the last 2 years.
You're welcome to pick one thing out and say that that's the same as all the things that I'm talking about, but that is not the same.
You're talking about time and experience and leadership.
Exactly. I'm talking about the collective whole, everything that they have done. Right? I am trying to figure out a way for us to agree that both these two in these positions will do a great job. Okay? And then we just need to figure out who's gonna sit in the presidency. We gotta find a qualification that separates them. That is one. She's been here long, she's done more. They both done great work. She's done more. You don't think that Ruth has accomplished things in her role, more so than Dennis has accomplished in the 2 years he's been.
I believe Ruth has accomplished a lot, and I'm not gonna compare.
We have
each one of
to,
them
that's what we're here to
individually.
do. Compare them, please. Please compare them. Please convince me otherwise. Because what you're not convincing me, you're just sitting down, you're saying, we're not gonna talk about this anymore. Convince me that Dennis's experience is worth more than Ruth's at this point where we have to make this decision. Because I believe it is valuable, but it's not as valuable.
Again, I'm gonna go back to the solicitors meeting and say, for the last 2 years, he's consistently attended every meeting,
Great,
has the experience.
he has that experience, yes, agreed, not taking
Ruth
that.
has never set an agenda
Okay,
in the 6 years she's been here,
okay,
correct? Or partake, I think you were on a couple about 4 years ago,
I have,
a few.
certainly put in my opinion on agendas.
Okay.
I have
Yes.
certainly discussed.
But with that being said, in that one committee, which sets the agendas for all these meetings.
Okay.
Every step of the way, he's been an influential person for the last 2 years.
great, and he will continue to be that. Wonderful. As vice president, he will continue to be that role. Okay, that is one aspect of this role.
Amazing.
Right? And you're even saying that he's been able to do this without even being in a senior position. Okay,
And I'm
so
saying-
that doesn't make him more
But you're
qualified to be president.
getting rid of the 2 people that have been there with him.
Okay.
He therefore would have the most experience going into that meeting and setting that meeting.
Okay, in that meeting, yes, he's done it before. Wonderful. What about all the other things? It is more than just setting the agenda. The role is bigger than that.
And as we've already stated, he's been on the planning commission for the last 2 years, which is one of the most complicated committees to run, correct?
Okay, great. Yes, you're right. I
And
agree
he's
with you.
done an outstanding job on that, correct?
I agree with that. I said it when in my opening statement.
Mhm.
Okay, yet another thing that Dennis has done, but I'm talking about the collective whole.
And I'm saying those sums, in my opinion, are equal, if not greater for Dennis. And I believe he should be in the president's spot. That's my belief. And I love Ruth. She's a friend. We talk, so on. With that being said, strictly regarding the township and who I think can best lead this township, I'm going with Dennis. I think Ruth would make an excellent VP. I truly do.
So
I nominated her for it.
again, you're saying Dennis because he's participated in solicitor meetings. Because he's head of the planning commission for the last 2 years. But those two aspects make him more qualified to be president.
I'm saying him as a whole with his role in corporate America.
Please get specific. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Well,
I'm
I've
asking you to
already
try to
done
get
this for the
specific.
last 3 hours.
You
and I've been
haven't.
trying to do that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
instead of doing
You
it.
keep falling back and talking about how articulate he is and that the fact that he joins his meetings.
And I'm also talking about his negotiation skills and tactics.
What is he been negotiating? Tell me.
So
What is he
he's
been
negotiating
negotiating?
conversations, well, let me rephrase. As you know, we all talk to different members in the community and so on, and attempt to interact with them in the best way possible for the township and to see the projects go through. He's very articulate with what he does, and I believe he is better suited than Ruth for that position if there is interactions, negotiations, and so on with, let's say, developers. Let's say outside 501c3s or whatever else that we need to interact with on our level. Because we interact with 501c3s all the time, being the fire companies, HVAA, numerous other organizations. I believe he is better suited for those roles.
Ruth, how many of those types of organizations have you engaged with in the last
I've
6
actually
years?
been on the board of HBAA. I've worked with, I don't know how many not-for-profits and been on the board of many over the years. I don't think that that's a difference between us.
Okay.
That's fine.
I'm gonna
So you-
give you a little bit of my perspective.
Please.
And just from my experience, and when Doc asked me to be vice president, and Rob, they both did. And I think I told Chuck this too, when I ran some years back, that I really, to me, leadership positions like that, I really never, they've asked me when they first came onto the board, did you wanna step up and do this? I didn't really care about that. I'd rather just be a regular board member, and they get to asking me, you wanna be VP, do you wanna be president, whatever. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to just be a regular board member. So they kept asking me, and then Doc said, do you wanna be VP? And, Clay actually talked me into it when he had gotten ill. And, actually, Ruth was instrumental, really talked me into moving on to VP. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And, the whole time I was VP, it was a good learning experience for the agenda. And I do think that Ruth would really learn a lot with regard to the agenda and running the meetings and whatnot. And I think that Dennis, with regard to, the way he is so articulate and, the way he can handle the crowd and whatnot, I think he has that. No offense, Ruth, I love you to pieces, but he has that better skill set with regard to running the meeting and whatnot. I think he can handle that.
There is definitely no doubt that Dennis is smoother.
He does, he's smoother, he's
He's
smoother,
smoother,
smoother
and
than
I
all of
just
us. I think he'd be much
think
even
that's-
smoother.
And we
than
think
me.
that that is a critical
I
element
think
of being
that's a
president,
critical element
of being able to just speak
Well, I just-
eloquently in the spot.
It's not, it's a critical element, it's just a level up.
Okay.
We would call it, as the kids call it, a level up. So, I mean, I even taught, he's taught me a few things. And, well, tonight I'm really tired and I didn't eat dinner, so thanks for asking for that 5-minute break. I had a bag of nuts, which gave me a little rise in my blood sugar, but I just think that getting into that VP spot really, it helps. And then if he was unavailable, of course, Ruth would be able to step up. If he was unavailable, Ruth would serve as president. She would run the meeting. So, and that's what happened with Doc. And when he was unavailable, I ran the meeting. As you step up, you step up. Like, if I'm not here, Joe would step up and he would run the meeting. So, it's kind of it's a team effort. So don't think it's just, president, vice president, and actually, if I said to Ruth, if I continued on as president, and I know it's not really done that often, since I've been on for a while, and you were all younger, like Dennis and you, Sean, and I wanted to give a little bit of everybody a turn at the table. That's not really done that much in municipalities, but I think it's good for everybody to have a little turn to get to know how to run the agenda and have that kind of, experience. So, to be all inclusive, but it's really, I think it's worthwhile for everybody to learn and know how to run a meeting. And, just, it's not something that you can just pick up and do. Now, I do think that you and Dennis are very bright men, young men, so.
Maybe Denise and Joe as a way of just continuing this dialogue,
Try to
so
give you my opinion.
most of you are in leadership positions
Mhm.
now. Maybe you can articulate, what you see as being, the important aspects of being in that position. Denise is the president, Joe is vice president, collectively, in terms of, Sean's talked a lot about availability, but a lot of that availability, at least from what I've understood from Manager Hoffman, has been, check signing and it's signatures, right?
Mhm.
So, to me, that is important, of course, to continue township business, but it's also, it's more of a task. But maybe you can just share in terms of, the things that you do on a monthly, yearly basis as the president and vice president, and what those important things are in terms of conducting township business, and maybe that would help clarify some things.
Every single committee that you're all on, that we review on a monthly basis, which I think is important for all of us. It takes a lot of time in preparation. Chris, he puts so much time, Chris and EJ, and also Leah, they put a lot of time in preparing. I mean, it takes them weeks to prepare. So the information, they meet with staff. And that isn't like, Sabrina on Bewitched, twinkle your nose. So whether it's the school board, whether it's the township, a lot of work goes into that, to prepare for our agenda items and to get down on this paper. I mean, and EJ in 2 roles as the assistant manager and the finance director, a lot of work goes into that. To just prepare for our meetings every single month. And, Jill and I have a team tag, situation going on in the township, with regard to the present role. If I'm not available, Joe's available for that also. So that would be also, Ruth's role, grants, signing for grants. They usually come in. So signing for paperwork, signing for grants, after meetings, signing, if there's motions, so if you see, I usually stay back and there's items to sign as president, checks. So both of us.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify. You talked about all the prep for agendas, not just the meeting to set it, but all the prep. So do you come and meet with EJ, meet with Chris, talk about those things leading up to that?
Talk about everything.
Do you tend to do that during the day? Is that in the evenings? Is
Yeah.
it during the day?
Yeah. Lot during the day. And there's Zooms. Go ahead, Joe. They can.
So going back to what you were saying, Sean, articulating out a little bit more. The role of the president and the VP are very similar. The president's primary responsibility over the VP is signing papers, documents, as you know. That occurs, and EJ can probably give a little bit better breakdown, but typically once a week, once every 2 weeks, you have documents to sign. Normally, it's not an urgent matter where it has to be signed that day, the next day. It can wait a couple days to get done, especially with the resolution and after the commissioners meetings. There's resolutions or whatever else that's typically handled here. So, but as long as it's voted upon and ratified by the board, it carries and just waits for the signature to go through it. That happens minutes after, or hours after, or days after. It really doesn't matter, to my understanding.
Yes.
With that being said, the president's role also declares emergencies in the township. If there was, let's say, a major snowstorm, they're the ones that would activate and declare the snow emergency. VP is the backup and has all the same roles and responsibility as the president in the president's absence. Regarding the additional calls, meetings, and so on, it also goes more to what your commission is and what you're assigned to. As you know, you may be called if there's a zoning hearing matter or something going on. You may have to do another meeting for an hour or 2 hours. It occurs, the same thing on public safety, on IA, whatever else. Those can occur at any time. With that being said, the VP's role also, as I stated, is primarily backup. The other primary responsibility for the president and the VP are to be in those agenda meetings, solicitor meetings, to set the agenda for the following month, make some discussion on what's going on in the agenda, and let it be tabled for a month or so, and that's what typically occurs there. Also, there's normally a third commissioner present at those meetings. Besides that, it's the same as every other role as the commission. Everybody's got their assignments, everybody carries out their tasks, has their liaison positions, and so on. That's the role of the president and the VP.
Right, different things that come up to, what we see, the different things that we're continuing to work on. like Solicitor Rice is keeping an eye on those e-bikes and scooters and, you know, different things like that.
And I would say,
You know, I send out to all of you.
85% of my communication and action is via either a Zoom meeting, Google Meet, or phone call. The 10% that we're in person is when we're sitting there.
I try to give you a little update tidbits about different things.
Did that provide the clarity that you guys were looking for on those positions?
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's good to say it out loud and, you know, in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, what is. You know, what are the responsibilities, you know, what I heard was agenda setting, you know, staff interaction. Declaring emergencies and,
Yes.
you know, gaining board consensus on items.
Yes.
Um,
And,
So.
you know, I like to come in a lot more because I've been here for a really long time, so I like to come in and say hi to the staff all the time. I come in a lot, so they're just used to me coming in. Even if I wasn't here anymore, I'd probably still come in a lot. Even if I wasn't in a position, because it's just, I've been around for a long time in the township for over 4 years. And, it's-
I can say
Feels
I
like
don't come in
home.
that often.
it feels
Love
like,
guys, but I'm not
you
gonna-
know, it's home for me, so.
But, you know, I asked that because, you know, in terms of trying to ascertain, you know, what direction that we're heading in. You know, it's really the four of you that will help make this decision, but, you know, whether it's Ruth or myself, what we're looking at is, you know, the experience in those areas where.
Sure.
That you just listed, so.
Yeah, and we do, and Ruth and I do a great deal together, you know, if there's something on the Pike, which is our heart district, and we meet with, you know, different property owner or resident, and we just plan for the property that, was just preserved. We went to the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners meeting for that. I gave her a call, said, hey, do you want to go up together? We did. We loved that December meeting. That was a really great meeting.
You know, and I would say, you
Yeah,
know, from my
I try to reach
experience.
out to all of you.
From my experience, from, you know, what
Yeah.
you mentioned, you know, for me, from what I've observed, you know, the two biggest things are determining the agenda, because the agenda kind of sets what we're doing from
Sure,
a governance standpoint, what's important.
yeah,
And a big piece of that is establishing board consensus and. You know, I think that there are certain big things, I think particularly now, how our board is made up, that there is diverse board. And I think that's healthy. And, you know, but I do think I'm in a unique position to be able to negotiate some of the things that I think everybody here is asking for. And not to put Joe on the spot, but I can tell you it was a very hard sell to move somebody who has a lifelong experience in emergency services, has an advanced degree in emergency services, to ask him to step away from something that he's very passionate about. And Joe was not willing to do that, but I believe he is now. I think that's apart from some conversations, you know, that I had with him since it was first brought to my attention. As an example.
I think building consensus is what I've done. What I've been doing for the last at least 6 years, but certainly my entire life. This is a big part of me, knowing how to work with people, knowing how to talk to people, being compassionate, being kind, being strong. I think I've done that. And I will continue to do that.
I appreciate what you said on that, Ruth. During this whole process over the last several weeks, ever since the elections have taken place, there's been discussion between the parties. I know Dennis has talked, you have talked, Sean has talked, and so on. I've reached out a couple times to different people. The only person I ever heard back from was you when it came to that. And with that being said, and I'm saying, excuse me, I've talked to Denise, I've talked to Dennis, but on your side of the table right now, the only one I've ever heard back from is you. And when we had our discussions, I thought we had good discussions. I thought we had agreement in the past. However, when you ask for the stuff, such as the public safety position, he's stepping down as VP. I acquiesced for what I believed was in the best interest of the township and to allow a cleaner function of the township going forward for the next 2 years.
Mhm.
The person that got me to acquiesce was Dennis. And I said, you know what, you're right, it's for the township, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's what needs to be done and ensure that the projects that we've been working on for numerous years get accomplished. I'm willing to do that, but he was the one that changed my mind. Nobody else sitting at this table.
I didn't ask.
We talked about it, but never did I hear from anybody else besides Denise.
So for the record, Joe called me today at 4:15. That's the first time I've worked with him on this process. Second, we
No.
started this whole thing, Ruth and I, right? Me talking to Ruth, seeking advice, seeking direction. Because I have long been a trainer of her as a mentor in this position, learned a lot from her. And we looked at each other and we thought about the things that were really important to this township. We thought about who the players are and who we want to be involved and who we want to quite frankly nurture long term. And we approached Dennis to talk to him about it. Right, that was Ruth. That was Ruth starting this whole process, getting us to sit down to have open, frank discussions about a number of different topics. Right, and to advocate and to continue to advocate for Dennis. Right, to continue to seek consensus. Right, even late into this process, when that discussion started to break down. Right, and talking with Denise and trying to seek consensus, trying to find another way to get us through this process. Right, you want to talk about negotiation, you want to talk about bringing consensus. That is exactly what Ruth has been doing this whole time. Right, and yeah, she has engaged with you and she's engaged with you. Right, we have not engaged. Didn't get a call. I wasn't a part of that process. Right, Ruth has been the center of this whole thing. That speaks to Ruth's capabilities. It also speaks to what we need now. There's a reason why she is at the center, why she's the only person who's talked to everybody in the sport about this. Right, no one else can say the same thing. Right,
That's not true.
well, okay, I take it back. Dennis is also talking, right? But Ruth, my point still stands that this started with Ruth. Right, and it should continue with her. Right, and there is, again, so much this group will do. Right, and when I heard about the roles and responsibilities, it sounds like being available throughout the week. Right, it sounds like both of them would be capable of doing it. I personally believe that Ruth being in more often, it will help her. It'll help her be here, if she needs to be here. I believe Dennis will be there too. Right, we talked about like setting the agenda. Ruth puts a critical eye to every agenda. She knows what they're all about. She knows everyone else's report. I've talked to her about things on my report. I've talked about things on other people's report. Right, and she's brought them to me. So she looks at these agendas. She knows them top to bottom. I have utmost confidence that when she's sitting in the seat trying to decide it, she will reach into that 6 years of experience and be able to do a great job doing that. Right, so all these arguments that are against her, they exemplify her. They put her above and beyond that. And if we really truly believe that president and vice president is a team, that they work together. And what I heard was that the primary difference is who signs the check and who signs the motion. Then why can't we look at this group? Why can't we look at Ruth with her experience and tenure and the things that she has done and recognize that she could be the one that signs the check and the two of them can work together to get us through all this.
And I would cast it right back to you. I can't beat Dennis.
I just explained why. Because Ruth has been doing this for long.
6 years. You're coming down with the same argument of 6 years versus 2 years, right? Is that all the differences that you see? And it's adding on tenure?
I have yet to hear an argument that would suggest that Dennis has exemplary skills in an area that Ruth is lacking in. Right? Talking about negotiation, I just explained to you exactly what Ruth has been doing this whole time and has done in the past. Right? Talking about articulation, right? Dennis is a smoother talker. Like, okay, we all have to give our reports. It's incumbent upon all of us to be prepared and to think critically and to raise our voice. Okay? And no one does that more than Ruth. And I would say probably the second person who does that is Dennis. Once again, the reason why we're looking at both of these two, and we have yet to diverge from them. We want them both to be in this position. Okay? And yes, I do firmly believe that separates them, and I have not seen anything else to do with it. And I still have not heard any argument to the contrary that doesn't talk about both of them equally.
I have to say that in preparation for this meeting, I went through the last 4 years of the minutes. Because that's what was available, 2022 through this year. Every single minute from every single meeting. And the one thing that I noticed is that I was consistently more active in those meetings than anyone else, except of course, the president. But I consistently asked more questions, I consistently made more statements, I consistently set agendas, timelines, and suggestions.
Ruth, I just beg to differ with you. I disagree on that. I appreciate your opinion, but I don't believe that to be fair.
If you look
That's the
through
facts of the
minutes,
minutes. She's not making facts.
it's not
Her
arbitrary.
interpretation of what she saw in minutes.
Okay, so you don't believe her, you think she's telling something.
I believe that all of us have had active roles on this board, and I'm not gonna
I didn't say
quantify.
Take anything with.
I'm not,
It's
it's
not
not
personal.
anything on me. I'm saying we can't quantify the one person's action, saying they spoke more without looking at everything over the last 4 years in the videos and everything else. And if you want to get stopwatch and time how much each person talked, that's great, but I think it's a waste of time.
So, once again, shutting down the conversation rather than trying to, like us to
I'm
move.
stating a fact right here, Sean. I don't believe it's a valid point
Right.
to the argument. That's what I'm saying. If you give me something valid
You're,
that I
you're
can
saying
grab-
Ruth's participation in past meetings.
No, I'm saying all of our participation in past meetings is valid, but I don't believe hers is any more valid than any one of us sitting up here. Besides you, Chuck, you haven't been in one yet on that, but I love.
And that, I mean, the only thing that I would offer to Bruce's comment on that is, you know, a lot of times I'm asking less questions in your meeting because I spent 4 hours in a solicitor meeting a week beforehand and asked a lot of questions as part of that process and how we're setting the agenda. So, and many times when it comes time to the actual meeting, such a different discussion,
You're welcome.
I'm pretty familiar with everything that's on the agenda because we spent 3 or 4 hours talking about it, you know, a week prior to the meeting.
I'm usually very familiar with what's on the agenda as well. And I've reached out to people and asked questions. EJ gets a list of questions from me every week. These guys often do, you do many times.
Yeah, I connect with Chris and I talk about things that I need to, but I actually think on that point alone, raising questions in these meetings is essential. We have to bring discussions to the public.
The reason I ask questions most of the time is to increase transparency. So the people in the audience, so that the people on Zoom, so that the people on YouTube who watch it later can learn. Can see what we're talking about, because often we talk in shorthand, because we know what's going on. But they can't, and I want them to. That's what I mean by transparency. That's what I've been working on for the last 6 years.
Commissioner Mueller, availability during the day, 100%?
Are you asking me if I'm available from 9 AM
Just
to
the
5
day.
AM
Day.
through the
I
day?
asked it today.
I'm
Availability
available,
during the day.
yes, I'm available. Like, I'm not, I have a job,
Yeah,
so.
Oh, I understand that,
Right,
yeah.
so am I available? Yes, I'm available.
And Ruth is available also, correct?
Not yet. I'm always available. We're retired.
Seems we've had another wall in the discussion.
I think he's.
So there's no public comment?
No, we haven't.
Well, I mean, if you know, you're asking, you know, if you're asking a political question. I mean, I think that, you know, say exactly what I said before. I think the board right now is in an interesting position. I think, you know, Commissioner McDee coming on the board brings a certain dynamic to it. But, you know, as I had said before, and I said this to Chuck.
Which the board never had.
So I think there's a certain dynamic that exists. And, you know, I think in order to continue to work through the things that we have to work through, we have to build consensus and we have to do things. And, You know, the first thing that I did, the first person that I tried to reach out to when I came into this position was calling the time Mr. McDade to get his opinion on things. And I've reached out to you several times because this is a guy that the year beforehand, when I was attending the meetings, was one guy that's always in the room that's asking questions. And the first thing that I did when I got elected was to reach out to Chuck to get his opinion on things.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I.
Not always right, though.
Your opinion?
Right, not always right, but board.
We don't always have to agree, but there's been many meetings after the meeting that I've come back to you and I've said, you know.
I'm not gonna argue that, Paul.
That's a strong point, right? So I do think.
So is Ruth.
I'm not saying one or the other, what I am saying, you know, is that, you know, in terms of building consensus and working with everything, I think that Chuck's presence brings a certain dynamic to the board that requires a certain amount of diplomacy. And I think I'm in a unique position to be able to do that, to be able to span a gap where, quite frankly, there's, you know, there's some baggage that some of us are carrying on this board with others on this board. And I think I'm in a unique position that, you know, from a party standpoint, I don't believe, and I've said this many times before, I don't believe that politics belong in this room at all. You know, I ran as a Republican because I'm fiscally conservative, but not because I necessarily support all those views. And I think for the township, I think the issues that are in front of us, they're not a Republican view, they're a Democrat view, it's the township view. So I have little tolerance for party affiliation in this room, because I think that what people care the most about is whether or not a fire truck shows up when their house is on fire, whether or not the police show up, how much traffic you sit in, how many potholes, and whether or not the trash is picked up. They're the things that people care about, and it's not an R view, it's not a D view, it's a township. And so I am concerned about bringing a certain political dynamic into this ring. And, you know, I'm not a hard R. So, you know, and there's many things that have come up that we've talked about that maybe aren't necessarily aligned with some of my other colleagues here. And the public safety one is a good one. That was a difficult decision for him, but, you know, based on the conversations that I had, I thought that it was the best outcome for the township, not because it was an R view, not because it was a D view, because it's best for the township. And that's the way I've always behaved since day one here. It's the way I'll continue to behave. And, you know, so to answer your question, Ruth, you know, I think that, you know, that Chuck brings a certain dynamic to it, but, you know, I'm not a party person. So, in that sense, so I have less concerns about, you know, necessarily opposing his view, or, you know, because personally, it doesn't matter to me as it relates to, you know, the folks that are in this work. Comes to the fire company, you mentioned it earlier that you think that, you know, we have a little bit of a different of opinion. And I've said this before in our budget meetings, what's most important to me is delivering fire services to the township. That's best for the township. If that means that we change direction now, I'm open to that, if the data supports it. I haven't seen anything that supports it any differently, so we'll continue to do that. I'm a process person, so I believe in the process. I believe in trying to stick things out for, you know, for the betterment of that, and for us to come to consensus on things, and I'll continue working. But to answer your question, yes, that is a concern. And I think I'm in a unique position to be able to either build consensus or to take a leadership position to maybe go in a different direction despite other influences.
So is your concern that Ruth is not as capable of doing that?
Quite frankly, yes,
You think she's not as capable of finding consensus among the five of us or the four
for
of
the
us?
reasons that I just stated, yes.
Who would she have a challenge finding consensus with? I'm not following.
I think from the standpoint of, I think Chuck has a very strong personality. I think, you know, I think that can be a challenge, and I think that I'm in a better position to be able to.
You think you're less susceptible to Chuck than with this? I'm just trying to understand.
Crazy.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying, because I don't agree.
Flip it and say that because Chuck and I have a strong relationship and do talk quite frequently, that I think I'm actually in a better position to work with Chuck. Sometimes we're on the same side, sometimes we're on different sides. There is no one here who could say that I supported 100% of his positions, especially Chuck. But, you know, again, he's one member.
Right.
We're all here and I've worked with everyone. And I will continue to do so.
Right, and we talked about, again, Ruth finding consensus and talking to this group about this process and having done so for many years, right? Denise has talked often about the work they've done together, right? Joe's comment too. So to me, I asked that question because you're saying unique. I wanted to make sure I understood exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think I've answered. Yeah.
Just to end this, I also, agreed because both you and Chuck asked me, well, actually through Dennis and Ruth to step down as president. And I agreed to do that for the greater good of, if it's that P word, and I also am not political. And I know that's been a vote in convention. I'm one of the people in the community. And, I did that to try to bring us all together here. So I, like Joe, step back and to try to, build some consensus here for some new freshness on our board, and also to try to, Joe and I to be there for everybody and help everyone learn, and hopefully we can go together as a board
As Dennis
and collaborate with each other.
I agree. And help.
And I'll be here for all of you,
Get
but
you. I get you. And
we
so
are at this impasse.
in that respect, like
Um,
reflecting on
sorry.
our relationship with Ruth and reflecting your relationship with Dennis, right? How long have you known Ruth for? How long have you worked with her for? Right?
25 years.
At least.
And based on that 25-year relationship and the 2 years you worked with Dennis and seeing his action, you're still selecting Dennis for that president's role, right?
I think Ruth, you can learn a lot from Dennis in this VP spot. I really do. I really do. Well, I did tell you, I think you both would make a great team.
As Dennis stated, this,
I think you will.
I think you guys would be a great team. I
I
really
think you would
do.
be a great team, and I talked to you about that.
Dean, let me hop in for a minute. As Dennis stated, and as we all stated, the positions up here should not be political. We were elected as party candidates, absolutely. The only thing that matters is doing the right thing by the township residents.
Yeah.
And not delaying the business as you stated.
I agree.
Yeah,
We need to be able to move forward on this.
Okay.
And that's where we're at right now. We have another business meeting to hold as it's going on in 10:15.
I
Yeah.
understand.
You guys have decided not to take the advice of the solicitor, disagree with the solicitor. I'm not putting you out there in a mean way or anything like that. Your opinion differs from what John is advising us and what he believes. With that being said, I'm going to side with our solicitor, and it's my opinion, I believe Dennis and Denise's as well, that what he's saying is correct. We're at a little bit of an impasse right here, as we have been going on 3 hours and 45 minutes. With that being said, are we gonna be able to move on tonight, table this and reconvene on this and allow us to do the business meeting? Because that's what needs to be done for the people tonight.
And my understanding, Solicitor Rice, correct me, is that by moving forward with what you've outlined in the memo, that doesn't preclude us from continuing to have these conversations going forward. So what I mean by that is we have the ability to still debate this beyond tonight. And I know there's the 10-day rule, but when I've asked you about this, what you've communicated to me, and I'm just saying it out loud to get everybody here, what we talk about is that just because we passed the 10-day threshold doesn't stop us from continuing to have these conversations, these deliberations moving forward. And we can continue that we could theoretically sit in here for the next 2 weeks, not leave, and EJ can bring us in hurdy togies to defeat us, but we could continue to debate this. So it doesn't have to end tonight that one and final is what you suggested. And, so we can continue to reflect, continue to discuss, maybe Ruth and I can have some conversations, after this meeting and, for the remainder days of this week, and we can reconvene and continue this conversation. There is some other business that I think that probably people in the room want us to get to, and maybe Joe, this is what you're asking, is can we continue to have the conversations, John, around leadership positions? Maybe Ruth and I, we have a little side conversation here that we should talk, to continue to do that, but allow for other business to continue tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that fail-safe provision doesn't have a term to it. So, fail-safe provision, you continue in office until it changes, so that could change next month, in 2 months. But you need to keep talking about it, because obviously there's a consensus on change of leadership. It's just the question on who and in what spot. But so I mean, look at it as temporary president and vice president.
And we won't even call it temporary.
Yeah.
I want to support that, but I also want us to be able to move forward tonight. And it sounds like we're at a spot now where, we're gonna stop and maybe Ruth and I can come up with something. But can we move forward with the, quickly get through, the items that are on here with the understanding, we're not gonna call it temporary, with the understanding is that, yes, we still have to work this out. It would be my opinion on this is that, we continue to do this in a very short period of time frame, not to go on for years, not to go on for the remainder of this year. So we have to make a decision tonight. I agree that allowing somebody that's not part of the room to make the decision isn't the best decision, right? I agree that just, moving forward and saying, hey, we're done, I'm not suggesting, I am suggesting is that we continue to talk, we continue to reflect, but for right now, we hit a pause button. That's why I'm not saying temporary. We try to get through some of these other items here on the agenda tonight and move forward.
Here's what is the impetus for continuing this discussion if we allow the existing president and vice president to continue?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
To allow
That's my
township
response.
business to be conducted, and we can reconvene this.
I understand your point, but I don't think we can. Okay, I don't think we can because we didn't come to an agreement here on the two key positions in this township tonight. And you're agreeing with Solicitor Rice, we're disagreeing with Solicitor Rice because of the codes of the township. And the codes of the township said that we need a president and a vice president to move on with township business, and we're not here yet.
So according
Okay,
to the
so-
code, under 7.
Well, you're gonna read that again.
One day.
And I heard it again from you and again from John, okay? But we're at a disagreement there, okay? And Sean went on with other things. There's a Supreme Court decision. I don't know, right now, we're at an impasse, okay? That's where we're at. We're at an impasse, all right? And when you're at an impasse, we have to find a solution for it before we can move on with township business.
So Sean, you had referenced that you had spoken to somebody on the outside that has some legal opinions. Can we agree to table this and get that legal opinion to John so that he can share it with the board and we can consider that? Would that help us try to force us into a decision?
I mean, I think what Chuck's bringing up is that, like, sure, I suppose we could do that, but not to then move on to our meeting and to open up the door for
Okay, so
temporary or otherwise president. Like that, all that does is open the door to meeting once more, right? The memo comes, you read it, you say, okay, that's
Well,
another opinion,
so
and that's it. And then we try to talk about this again, go late, we say, let's table it again, right? That's exactly what I'm trying to, we cannot open that door, because once that door is open, it does not shut. It does not, as much as principled as you are, and as much as you, and I believe you when you say, like, I don't want that in case that door gets opened, it does not get shut. Just can't let that happen. That's not right. That sets us up for long-term failure.
Sean, without that additional information, I can't make an educated rational decision. Like, I would need to read it, see it, and so on. I can only go based on what I have now.
We are not deciding whether or not we can fail to organize. We are trying to decide how to organize. And that is part of the issue. Is that there are, that you, Denise, and Dennis, you all believe at this moment that we have the option to fail to reorganize. That there is a path forward if we fail to organize. And that is what I'm saying, that we can't just allow for that to happen.
Sean,
Because we will never come back.
you have a difference. I don't believe we're failing to reorganize. We're failing to re-elect a new president and a vice president.
That's what organization is. That's literally what it is.
But it states clearly, if that occurs, that the current serving president and vice president go until the newly elected people.
No, it doesn't. You keep saying that clearly it does. I read it too, and it doesn't say that. You can't just say it's clearly stated and that's that.
Per our attorney, our solicitor.
Okay,
Township, that's
good.
his opinion of what.
He read it too. He gave us an
He's the
opinion.
one with the law
That
degree.
does not make it what it is.
We have a circular argument going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is that, as much as we don't want to, we would love to continue with the business of the meeting. We're not prepared to do that until we have a president.
Well, Ruth, we do have a January, if you don't wanna vote on things and you don't wanna stay for the meeting, you don't have to do that. But honestly, there are items that I still wanna open up the January meeting.
You can discuss what you want.
Nothing I like more.
Because we did advertise the meeting. It is advertised and there are agenda items, 1 through 5 that we can discuss. We can discuss the administration report, the public works report, building officials report, public safety, tax collector. This is an advertised meeting. So we can discuss some items on that agenda that were advertised. There are other items that we can't move and make motions on. If you do not want to, but there are things that we can discuss because these, there are items that are listed. If you do not want to participate,
The other option too is that,
We can
my
discuss them.
position here is that,
I
I
mean-
think we've exhausted tonight. I don't think we're gonna get any further tonight than where we are. Personally, I would like to have some conversations with Ruth. But I don't think we're gonna get anywhere further tonight. And I do have an opinion from the solicitor on how we should proceed and what the remedy is. I know that differs from some folks here in the room. But, my thought on this is, I will take the solicitors in the absence of something else, and take the solicitor's opinion to make the decisions to be able to move on. I understand your comments about it's a slippery slope. I want to resolve it as quickly as possible. I think that it needs to be resolved as quickly as possible for people in this room. But I trust what the solicitor is telling me at this point in the absence of something else. And, I'm at a point now where you can move on.
There's only one way to move on. You know what it is. That's the way to move on.
I disagree. I think that's one way, but there's also.
I mean, one way is to stand up and end this meeting, right? To accept defeat at this
That's the
moment,
third way.
to re-advertise and try and instead. Well, we can't conduct township business. We have not decided this.
So according to the solicitor, per the solicitor, Denise is still the interim or sitting president until somebody else is elected. Are we in agreement on that? Per the solicitor,
No,
you don't,
They're not.
no, I'm not in agreement with it.
you don't agree that's what John said.
Right.
Okay.
well, then you want to
Let-
stop.
Do you want me to get super spam? Do I agree that he told us that?
Yeah.
Yes, those words came out of his mouth.
Yes.
Do I agree that is the
You disagree
interpretation?
with his opinion, which is perfectly fine.
It's in writing, too, but.
Yes, I read it too. And I just agreed when I.
No, he put his opinion in writing to the whole board of
Yes.
commissioners, correct? So with that being said, right now, it's his opinion, who is a joke. Then we need to adjourn this meeting and pick it up in 7 days.
Then advertise it again.
If you guys are unwilling to keep this going, then we need to adjourn the meeting. If you guys can't keep it up, so we can do
I think
that.
we are.
Okay, we cannot pass governors.
And, we've been at this
We've been
Is
at
it
4 hours almost.
4 hours.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Hey, I don't think we should.
How many days did we have? Chuck, did you?
Let's do a roll call on this.
On this?
Okay, I heard 3-1, but.
Well, no, there's two.
I have a question on the motion. Is there room for Ruth and Dennis to discuss what Dennis wants to talk to Ruth about before we adjourn this meeting?
Do,
Has to be done in public. This is a reorganization meeting. It's open to the public. I mean, Dennis, you stated, but you said that you need to talk to Ruth. What do you need to talk to Ruth about?
We both signaled that maybe we should talk.
I mean, it's 10 o'clock at night, so that conversation is probably gonna take some time, Chuck, I would think. And people don't make good decisions at 10 or 11 o'clock at night at public meetings. I've been to many of them, and you know, everybody gets tired and a little bit cranky, so if you adjourn the reorganization meeting, then I think you gotta decide what you wanna do about the regular meeting. Do you wanna reschedule that?
I'm a nay on the reorganization meeting. We should continue that, John.
all right, so
So I think at least
Ruth,
if we go through some of
we
it,
have 2 nays.
I think we should.
Hang on. There's 2 nays.
Ruth, where are you at? Commissioner Housing,
Yeah, sorry.
on the motion to adjourn.
I'm gonna say yay. Okay, but I'm gonna say adjourn the regular meeting as well. We're not gonna move forward on anything until this is done.
Well, the regular
You
meeting,
gotta call to order and then,
yeah, then you're gonna have to call to order, then continue it. That's all you can do.
Call it to order and continue.
But we're on this right.
make a motion to
We're on the
continue.
reorganization.
All right,
Already said.
so the motion went and passed, so adjourn the meeting, please.
Reorganization meetings adjourned, and then you get, just reopen the regular meeting and then adjourn it to a date, if you can pick a date.
You guys wanna go 7 days?
Can we do that though? If we are.
How much time do you need to advertise, John?
We advertise
6
it.
days.
You
We
got,
advertise.
You guys.
for a special meeting, it's gotta be 24
I
hours
mean, you know,
ahead of the meeting, so.
Can you
But,
get it
no,
in the paper?
but I think it was like a 6-day. Fine.
7 days is reasonable. I think if I can get it in by tomorrow, I should probably, or Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, it does,
Advertising.
it depends, yeah, 3 or 4 days,
This is usually safe.
yeah,
okay,
yeah, Jennifer's got the advertisement.
You just sick.
all right, so I'll push everything back. She's probably. Okay. So open the meeting and then close it.
Well,
Right.
We'll make a motion to advertise
Motion to advertise,
for
right,
7 days. Okay.
well, next available date, let's
Next
make sure
available-
everybody's
next-
available.
Wow,
28th, are you guys good the 20th?
is that Wednesday or?
I can choose the,
What would that next available date? be?
Whatever the
Jay,
Tuesday.
I don't have my calendar, so
Tuesday.
I think that's.
Tuesday, don't pick it tonight.
Just say
Tuesday,
next.
27th, next available date, then make sure Chris Hoffman's available,
Okay.
you know, it's not just.
27, he said.
Yeah, I can't keep.
She's sitting over there, is it done?
Okay, so. I'd like to open the January 20th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting.
Hold on, I need to stop this too.
Okay, you need to stop this and then.
Oh, yeah.